You're watching the 420 Pace, found at 420pace.ca. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this toke. U.S. Senators team with Sam on a bill to study cannabis impacts on Medicaid. A pair of U.S. Republican senators collaborated with a cannabis prohibition group to file legislation on April the 20th, that aims to discourage federal reform by showcasing what they say is a strain on healthcare costs. A strain. Okay. Senators Ted Rudd and Pete Ricketts, they introduced the Marijuana Impact on Medicaid Act on Monday, coinciding with the 420 cannabis holiday. The two-page legislation, supported by anti-legalization group Smart Approaches to Marijuana, also known as SAM, would require the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services to collect data on Medicaid spending associated with hospital inpatient and outpatient care and with emergency room visits related to cannabis use. Rudd, the primary sponsor, says the bill aims to provide transparency. He says the health consequences tied to cannabis use are serious, leading to increased risks for heart attacks, strokes, psychotic disorders, and further addictions, he said in a statement when he was announcing the bill. Now, when legislating on this issue, Congress needs to put the health and safety of the American people first, full stop. This is exactly why lawmakers need access to reliable data that details Medicaid spending associated with with marijuana use and abuse. Millions of Americans rely on Medicaid health care benefits, and my legislation will ensure Congress understands the dangers of this drug and its impact on federally funded health programs. Now, this legislation comes as Sam is attempting to halt the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services CBD pilot program that commenced on April the 1st. The federal program allows doctors to recommend health-derived CBD products containing as much as 3 milligrams of THC per serving to Medicaid patients with up to $500 per year in coverage for those products. Now, Senator Ricketts, he says, marijuana is a dangerous drug. The average THC potency in marijuana has more than tripled since 1995. High-potency marijuana is an increasingly concerning threat to public health. It is important to Congress to understand the costs and impacts of healthcare of increased marijuana use. The senators, they failed to mention a study published in 2025 by the National Institute of Health. In it, researchers concluded that medical cannabis use was associated with reduced healthcare utilization and improved quality of life among chronic patients. Gee, why wouldn't they mention that?
I was in a big city 2,000 miles from home. Saw an old buddy I used to know at a music festival, waiting for a show. Said, you know, I know a guy, if you wanna get stoned. I know a guy, if you wanna get high. He's a little bit shy, but he can change your mind. So come on and try, and you'll see why. He's a little bit shy, but I know a guy. I know a guy, if you wanna get high. He's a little bit shy, but he can change your mind. So come on and try, and you'll see why. He's a little bit shy, but I know a guy. Well, we did a little dancing, we did a little drinking, didn't take too long, and I got to thinking how good it would be to be a little more high. Said, you know, I know a guy, if you wanna get fried. I know a guy, if you wanna get high. He's a little bit shy, but he can change your mind. So come on and try, and you'll see why. He's a little bit shy, but I know a guy. Hey, I know a guy, if you wanna get high. He's a little bit shy, but he can change your mind. So come on and try, and you'll see why. He's a little bit shy, but I know a guy. You should have seen the look on my face when I saw his face, when he saw the look on my face, when he turned and he saw those blue lights are shining in the rearview mirror, when I heard that voice come over the intercom, and he said, boys, what you doing? I said, you know, officer, I know a guy. I know a guy, if you wanna get high. He's a little bit shy, but he can change your mind. So come on and try, and you'll see why. He's a little bit shy, but I know a guy. Hey, I know a guy, if you wanna get high. He's a little bit shy, but he can change your mind. So come on and try, and you'll see why. He's a little bit shy, but I know a guy.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
That could alleviate their suffering. It ties the hands of caregivers who know how to use it. It must be named as a harm. The cultivators and medicine makers of Northern California who built this knowledge, who developed the strains, identified the profiles, learned what worked for which patients, now largely keep that knowledge to themselves because commercial interests steal it, commodify it, and profit from it without credit or compensation. The knowledge is not being lost, it is being taken. And what is taken from those cultivators is taken from patients as well. From their access to the full expression of what the plant can offer, developed over decades of careful, compassionate work that no commercial enterprise has replicated. The policy ask is not complicated, but it requires policymakers to be honest about what is actually happening. Caregivers are filling a gap that medicine and policy have created and continue to maintain. They are doing essential work without recognition, without funding, and without the legal and regulatory support they need to do it well. In the United States, the majority of chronic patients rely on home-based care, and there's virtually no policy infrastructure supporting the people providing that care. That is not a gap at the margins. It is a failure at the center of how chronic illness is managed, replicated across healthcare systems internationally. Policy must be built on the actual reality of caregiving, its depth, its specificity, its relational nature, its dependence on knowledge that takes years to build. It must create mechanisms that fund and protect the caregiver role. It must stop suppressing the tools caregivers use. And it must ask of every provision under consideration, where is the compassion gap in this policy and who is filling it? Wade spent the last 16 years of his life answering that question in practice. With the plant he understood more deeply than almost anyone. With patients the system was not built to serve. With knowledge he shared freely because he believed medicine belongs to the people who need it. Cancer cut that work short. He did not get to finish what he started. Compassion must be designed into policy, deliberately, structurally, and without apology. Not as an afterthought, not as a value statement, as the foundation. And it must be compassion in action, not the acknowledgement of suffering, but the structural commitment to doing something about it. This is what Wade would say if he were standing here. It is what this moment requires. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica, and apologies to everybody for the sound delay issue. We have that fixed now. All right, next up, our next speaker will be Forrest Hurd. Forrest is a respected advocate, researcher, and founder of the Collage Network, a nonprofit established to provide services to catastrophically ill children and their families. And through that work has developed deep experience and practical application of cannabinoid-based therapies in children with rare diseases. He has worked closely with genetics and cultivation practices that led to the development and preservation of important CBD-rich varieties such as Harlequin. Forrest will help provide the technical application perspective behind why these plants were developed and how they became so important for patients seeking cannabinoid-based therapies. Please welcome Forrest Hurd.
Thank you. All right, through there well enough. Thank you, everybody. I want to say thanks for bearing with some of the technical difficulties that we're dealing with that here. I'm improvising myself, so if you see me holding a couple devices, that is why. But it looks like we got most of the big ones worked out. And again, thank you for everybody for your assistance on that. I want to start by first thanking the Veterans Action Council for inviting me here today to speak about this and represent patients and give a firsthand account of patients and their interactions with cannabinoid medicine. As mentioned, I primarily work with children, and that will be the focus today. After spending a few days here at the C&D and speaking to member state officials and advocacy groups, I've kind of come to realize that the progress cannabis medicine has made in the last decade has been excellent, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that are being introduced to these concepts for the first time. People who have influence in policy and influence in laws, being introduced to subjects and influences from people with different motivations as far as cannabis and cannabis medicine. And as a patient advocate, I hope to give some direct context for not only the importance of CBD-rich cannabis medicine, but also why the need for flexibility within the system is critical. As a parent advocate, for years, I've seen children's safety repeatedly used as a weapon against policies that would allow research and access for patients in need. A key factor that is always missed in these arguments is that children exist on both sides of the cannabis health and safety issue. Yet without fail, most policy is shaped without the nuance and care this reality deserves. Children that rely on cannabis medicine often face conditions so severe that without access, many of them would not make it to adulthood. I don't think enough people, even within the advocacy committee, stop and ask themselves why they don't see large adult communities of rare epilepsy patients advocating in the hallways at events like this. When we see other groups
collect themselves and come and advocate for their health and safety. The reason is as simple as it is tragic. For many of these children, the conditions they suffer from are so severe that they simply do not make it to adulthood. They are a silent patient group, unable to advocate for themselves, yet pay the harshest consequences for the decisions that we make. Before I begin, I want to warn you that some of the images in this presentation might be difficult to look at. There will be videos of seizures. And if that's something you don't feel comfortable watching, please do what is best for you. But I do encourage everyone to bear witness to these children, even if it is uncomfortable. I feel very strongly that if one is going to legislate, advise on policy, or advocate for change, it is critical that there be no doubt about the level of suffering we cause when overly restrictive policies are put in place. In other words, if as a lawmaker, one is going to support laws that prevent access and prevent treatment, they should not be spared from having to see the results those policies put in place. We all need to see it, we need to own it, we need to feel it. It is important to point out to our representatives that we are at the very foundation of our advocacy, brought here not by cannabis. I, not a cannabis user in any way, am brought here by witnessing or personally experiencing immeasurable suffering. And it was to my surprise, as much as others, that relief from that suffering was found in this plant. So bear with me as we share and set up this presentation. Because of that, and because of what we experienced here, I'm going to be sharing my personal experience, something that I haven't done in quite some time. So we will start with that into, let's see, this might be different. First, okay, we will start with that into the work that we did with patients across the board. Excuse me. Share optimize. Let's see, do it that way. These were some of those difficulties I was talking about. Okay, excellent. So I am not just a advocate for other kids. My journey brought me here with the own journey with my own son, and that's where I would like to start today as an introduction to getting to see some of the patients that rely on these medicines. So my son name is Silas. He was born with no signs of any health defects, no genetic markers, no conditions. He hit all his developmental birthmarks. And I point this out because it is a misconception that a lot of these kids with these diseases are born with genetic things that are present day one. He hit all his marks until about the age of 4 and then started to develop issues. So other than the joy of having a captive audience, look at pictures of your kids, which I know we all enjoy, the purpose of this is to really demonstrate this young man and how he grew up and hit developmental benchmarks, spoke, communicated, did all the things that you look for as parents to do as you hope for your children to develop in a healthy manner. At about 4.5, this picture on the left was taken about a week before his first seizure. Silas started having seizures. They were hard to recognize at first because a lot of people think of grand malls as seizures. Silas started having complex partial seizures at first, and then atonic and absence, and eventually grand malls. And eventually he had several, up to 10 different kinds of seizures at his peak. Within 6 months of his first seizure, he was having several seizures a week. And within a year, he was having several seizures a day. That trajectory went pretty rapidly once he got sick. And again, I show this early trajectory for lawmakers to recognize that nobody knows when they're going to be a patient. You cannot look at a child and say, well, mine doesn't need that. From one day you could, and in our experience, the next day, or for one day you could not, and the next day you may need those medications. So we advocate for the parents and children who do not know they need it yet, even when they advocate against what we're trying to set up for our communities. Within a year, or 2 years, excuse me, he was having up to 200 clusters of seizures. So what that means is they would start with atonic seizures, they would move into complex partial, and then they would go into severe grand mals that required heavy benzodiazepine medications to intervene. I want to talk specifically about side effects. A lot of times you will hear the side effects of CBD used as an argument against the medication. They list drowsiness, diarrhea, liver issues, fatigue, irritability, poor sleep. I think that's an intellectually dishonest argument when you compare it to the medications and the options that these children have available today. This is my son on a medication called Depakote, or I think the official name is, what's it called? Valtor?
Velcro.
Valpro, thank you. Again, my notes aren't where they're supposed to be here with me. But where we got it, it was Depakote, right? And this is a condition that also has all the side effects that CBD lists, to much more of an extreme, including requiring the check of the liver function before you take it and on a ongoing basis as you take this medication. Besides those ongoing severe side effects, I think the physical toll that it takes on the body is relatively clear. And these photos, to me, really demonstrate as parents why some people might not understand when we scoff when the side effects are used as a reason to limit access to certain medications. The side effects in these rare conditions that are being taken are extreme already. Opioids, benzodiazepines, heavy seizure medications with severe liver and kidney damage potential. By December of 2014, Silas was having over 2,500 seizures a month. He was diagnosed with a condition called Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. We had exhausted every medical medication that they had, and they were rapidly increasing. We were essentially told that he would not live to see 10 years old. So from his first seizure at 4.5 to telling to prepare for his death this was about, he was 7 when we were told this, and they said at this rate he would likely not see 10 years old, and we were sent home to essentially watch a child slowly seize to death. That is something that is hard to take in from just the sentence.
I do have some video we're going to see later so we can experience what that feels like as a parent. So this was before CBD was in gas stations, which any parent or advocate with any sense will side with anyone arguing against and sharing the risk of these things. This was before it was a buzzword that was being sold as a miracle drug, which it is not. This was before CBD was pumped into all sorts of things which can cause harm, if not clean, if parents with people with rare disease mistake it for medicine. This is why regulation is important, but at the time there was nothing. Epidiolex wasn't even thought of at this time before our kids paved the way in clinical trials for that to be approved. But there were parent groups that went on to be sponsored in the CNN documentaries. We were working behind the scenes trying to save our kids, and that success is what has led to this being universally accepted as a medicine, where even the most staunch proponents of cannabis can't deny any longer that it is a life-saving medicine. Well, that happened from anecdotal parent reporting of success. And I want you to keep that in mind as I correct some of the record on what CBD does and does not do and how it is successful, even though proponents will say, well, there's no studies of that yet. Well, there were no studies of any of this until they got the data from us that this was working. And just because the studies haven't been done in other aspects of it, we do know better on what does and does not work for these kids. Unfortunately, this is one of those misconceptions. Isolate CBD had no effect on my son's seizures. As a matter of fact, isolated CBD doesn't affect a lot of kids with rare epilepsy seizures. It does have a percentage of impact, and you'll see those in the Epidiolex studies, But compared to other types of medicines in conjunction with other compounds, the effect is minimal. For some kids, it could be a 10% reduction. For some very few kids, you'll hear that miracle benefit, but for the most, it is not a very effective medicine as compared to other preparations. It is much safer than any other seizure medicine. But the misconception I want to really clear up here is that having access to CBD isolate does not mean a child has access to a medicine that's beneficial to them. And the more isolated it is, the less its efficacy tends to be. Because my son didn't respond to it, I almost gave up. This is the thing that happens to a lot of parents. They hear cannabis is a miracle. They try some sort of CBD. They probably don't know what effective dosing is or what therapeutic dosing is. If they're lucky, they're getting it from their doctor, doing something like Epidiolex, and they are going to get clinical dosing help at that point. But for a lot of kids, it doesn't work. And they write off cannabis therapies because they've heard that if CBD is for kids and CBD did not work for my kids, then I must not have a solution. That is not the case. Unfortunately, not many parents know that. There are a lot of different options that we will get into, but where I want to start here is I also didn't know that. And in speaking to some folks from the Americans for Safe Access and other organizations, the concept as a young parent was brought to me that there's just been this observation that some people tend to respond differently to one plant than they do another, despite the same CBD and THC profiles. So it just gave this glimmer of hope for a parent who was already out of options as to what there still might be something out there that might work for us. So what I did is I started partnering with other collectives and just getting my hands on anything I could because I'd already used every medication possible from the top doctors in the country. We've tried CBD, which was, back then a very scary thing to do. Very little was known about it. It didn't have an impact. And we started trying other cannabinoids. Now, when that happened, we eventually found a plant that he responded to out of nowhere. And this, I'm really condensing this, but this is over about 6 months. We had pretty much lost hope. And I was like, fine, if we got another one, let's try it. And when we tried this extract, it was from a plant called medicinal haze, his seizure stopped. We saw kind of that miracle thing. He had not had a seizure for years. And for the first time, he had no seizures the next day. I was like, well, that's weird. Maybe it's a coincidence. And then it went the next day, and then it went the next day, and then it went 4 months, the entire time we had that one bottle. But because we weren't set up and prepared for this, they were just trying different things at random. That's all we had. We had that one bottle, and that was it. But in that 4 months, I want to show the reverse of that because the doctors started to wean him off his Depakote because he wasn't having any seizures. They started to lower the dose, not completely take him off it. But in that same time, we saw a completely reverse as far as his health and facial features. The swelling went down. We were using much less benzodiazepines, and we just saw health. We saw cognition come back. His ability to speak had returned somewhat. He was a kid who was laughing and playing again. And this is where someone goes from not sure about cannabis therapies to a staunch advocate, as I think any parent would in these situations. Any parent seeing that sort of transformation and benefit would say, hey, there's something here. I know the research isn't in yet, but there is something here that we need to look at. There's a possible savior for my son here. And then, long story short, again, we started working with those strains to get them. We started growing that cultivar specifically for my son. And at one point, our county that we lived in started with a measure called Measure W that was an outdoor cultivation ban. And in pressuring our communities and putting policy in place that restricted cannabis growth with no consideration for there being cannabis being grown that wasn't for recreational use, they started doing blind raids across the county, and they raided the garden that an organic farmer was growing my son's medicine in. And we lost a whole year's worth of medicine and completely ran out. That is when I became an advocate. That is when I learned that the moral and ethical ground that a lot of these people stand on
is not as solid as they think when we fail to care for the most vulnerable and sick in our communities. And I didn't hear it being articulated as dire as I felt that it was. And at that time, I started producing media material. I started going on the news, and I started putting my experience into the face of those people who did not give it the weight of seriousness that I saw having to go home to it every night. It's real easy to nod and hear, yeah, I've heard kids have seizures. Easy to. Different to go home to it every night and experience it. So with that, I would like to play a few minutes of one of those videos that I made, and I'm going to end it with a quote from our sheriff in our county. And I want to see if it sounds familiar to some of the things we're still dealing with almost a decade later. We do not have sound though. Sure.
Breaking the law should fall on the back. I don't feel that the biggest cost of those people breaking the law should fall on the backs of innocent children.
Nevada County authorities are cracking down on outdoor marijuana growers with a new ordinance. But one father is speaking out. He says the crackdown is jeopardizing his sons and other children's lives. CBS 13's Kelly Ryan is getting answers on the fight for Silas.
No, I'm the goofy goober, yeah. You're the goofy goober, yeah. Goofy, 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 goober. Okay. Sure.
What's my name? Okay, sit, honey. Come on, son. No. Okay, get down. Son. Honey, breathe. Oh, thank you.
holding on to what you fear. You cannot be free. Sitting in the grass till dawn, while the house is asleep. Holding tight to what you know. You cannot be swayed. Give the comfort change the roads. You feel that you're safe. You feel you're safe. We do not fear what you run from. We do not fear what you want from.
I have this mixed feeling, and I don't know what his motives really are. If he's being put out there as the front person to try to help the industry expand what they're doing is one aspect. But if he's doing it because he cares about his son, my heart goes out to him. I guess if I were in his position, I'd probably want to do the same thing. I want to protect my child. I want to do what's best for my child. But there's a bigger picture here. And we talked about it with the board. You can't make exceptions, because where do you draw the line?
Thank you, and thank you for sharing that with me. Here's we can get it. It's hard for me to share that. I actually haven't watched that in a very long time. It's hard to watch as a parent, and the PTSD that comes along with that. But it's not meant to just be, oh, let's pull on heartstrings. It really isn't. It is meant to have a visual reference for what it means when parents say they're experiencing watching their kids seized to death. This was many of our days sitting on a couch with our other options. So if we're going to restrict access, what are the options we're going to approve? And I want lawmakers and policymakers to understand this is what we are going to approve. Pumping Ativan into their mouth to stop seizures, or Diastat rectally daily until they die. That's not an exaggeration. It is an extremely common occurrence. And that is the sort of perspective that I hope to give in these videos, more than just manipulation of emotion. It is emotional, but I really want to make sure that's understood. It's not our purpose to manipulate through hard videos. It is meant to give an understanding of the alternative when we have over-restrictive policies. So with that option, I started working with my local community to try to find a solution. I'd already known that there is an answer out there, but we didn't have the science and the research yet to really understand why. But I do know that certain compounds affected the seizures and others didn't. And that is where I met Wade Laughter, the VAC member that is also being honored here today, and how our stories intertwine is a man who had a heart and an understanding of genetics, and a father who wasn't going to take no for an answer from doctors and lawmakers who were told me, I just can't handle this on my own because it's not safe. There's no way I could possibly manage to make a safe medicine on my own, because we're the only ones who could do it for our community. Unfortunately, kids like my son didn't have the time to wait for that. This video was 10 years ago, and we're still hearing the same arguments today. If I had listened to those options and those people tell me they're the only ones who can manage it for us, he would be dead. So I introduced Silas to Wade. We started talking about what cultivars we could get our hands on. We started talking about, Wade started teaching me about soil and health and how to grow organically and cleanly, because cannabis is a bioaccumulator. Yes, we all know that. And yes, we do take that into account when we make these kids medicines. And we started from the soil up to start to build small gardens at first with plant diversity, and started to isolate plants with different cannabinoid profiles that they were expressing, different dominant terpene profiles, different cannabinoid profiles. This was, at this point, people understood CBD and THC, but we were already experimenting with acidic compounds, V varieties, and CBD and CBG, and everything else. We were just trying to get every way this plant could express itself we wanted to have it expressed. And Wade started teaching me how to get these plants to meet their fullest potential in a way that I could meet my dream. And my dream was I wanted a lab-tested, clean medicine cabinet of cannabinoid profiles because we didn't know what was doing what. But what I did know is it was safer than anything else I'd given my son. And if we had the separate cannabinoid profiles, we could then titrate up systematically and methodically with the help of doctors and scientists and start to observe and document what works and what didn't. And I had the idea if we could build customized medications, we might be able to see what works for certain kids. Because the one thing I recognize at this point, after meeting quite a bit of other families with rare epilepsy trying cannabis, the one thing we've noticed right away is none of our kids needed the same thing. None of them. They all needed something a little bit different. Whether some of them had different conditions from Dravet syndrome, Deuce syndrome, Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, undiagnosed intractable epilepsy. The mechanisms that were causing them were somewhat different, and what they needed was different. Again, this is to solidify the point that any time you hear that CBD isolated alone is what children need, so we've got that covered, it is a drastic oversimplification and just not true. As we produce these medications, I started partnering with labs. Yes, all lab tested. Long before anyone asked for it, we were testing for molds and heavy metals and pesticides and all those things, along with terpene profiles and cannabinoid profiles. These were our friends at Sequoia Labs. They gave us free, unlimited testing. This is what a community can do if they're not restricted out of health. Free, unlimited lab testing, and we did. And we built one of the greatest profiles and collections from top-of-the-line extractors, free lab tests, and organic farmers of a cannabinoid medicine cabinet that we've seen in a long time. And that group is what became the Calandrius Network, a network of people who are just determined to put together an option for families in need when there are no others through the science that we knew and safe, ethical approaches for kids. And it scaled. We scaled to bigger and bigger farms, and we started to just build those collections. And when that happened, we started to see success. This is a very condensed version for time, but eventually in these experiments, I took notes and notes and notes, observed where we saw decreases and increases in seizure activity. And after a very long time, we were able to customize a blend for my son that stopped his seizures completely. In the last 5 years, he has had 2 seizures total. And we'll talk a little bit more at the end. But as that success happened, of course, all our friends in the community started asking, and we started not saying, here's what your child needs. Here's what a child with epilepsy needs. We started saying, we don't know what they need. And anyone telling you they know what they need is trying to sell you a product. And I mean that for pharmaceutical companies or for the guy at the street at your dispensary. If they are definite about what they tell you they need when it comes to these sort of conditions, they want to sell you something. Let me tell you from experience that I've worked with thousands of kids at this point. I don't know what we need, but I do know that we can have a methodological approach to determining what you need, and you can do that safely. So that's what we did. We taught parents how to take notes. We talked to scientists and got feedback from Dr. Russo and others who are on the cutting edge of that to make sure that we were understanding science correctly, because I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to explain the endocannabinoid system to you, even though I probably know it better than most. But we brought professionals in to guide us with that. And then my brother and I, Wade and others, we hit the road. We tried to get support. We got support from other industries. We went in education. And a lot of times, it sounded like I was on the other side of the argument to protect the kids, because there was a big wave of selling miracle cures with CBD that hit that I knew were potentially harming kids. And we worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families, and we developed a system that worked, and not one of those kids required the same medication. And then I started getting calls from other families. And this is where I really expanded what intractable or catastrophically ill meant. And this is where I started getting calls from families who heard what we were doing for kids with seizures and wanted to see if they could help our kids with never-ending inflammation. And that is where I first met Charlie. And if you have Netflix, there's a documentary that just came out called A Matter of Time, where Eddie Vedder is doing a fundraiser for kids with epidermolysis bullosa. And my friend Charlie is in that video. He worked with Eddie Vedder and others for a long time. And unfortunately, he passed away recently. But for years, we worked together. And again, just like my son's seizures and Charlie's epidermolysis bullosa, cannabis is not a cure. We're talking about mitigating suffering. And I got asked by the parents of these kids with epidermolysis bullosa, we need something to break down inflammation to manage pain. Do you think there's something here that could help? And long story, this is too long of a story for this, but it wasn't taken up lightly. We talked about doctors, about risk of infection and so on. We were careful in what we did. But again, we talk about the risk versus the reward. And when you're dealing with kids who have no other option and their life is short anyway without treatment, then you take risks. And that family wanted to take risks to end Charlie's suffering. And we started working with creams and topicals that were known to do some benefit, and cannabinoids' impact on inflammation was well documented at that point. So we said, let's give it a shot. And with Charlie, we started working together at the Collagerous Network to just develop these creams. And Charlie was brave enough to help us work it out together because they did not do a lot at first. And over the course of a year, we started developing a cream that once we solved the transdermal issue of absorption into the skin, I started getting texts back one day from Charlie's mother of showing us putting it on his neck. She said at first the only benefit was he actually got some benefit probably from the THC components in it, where she said it looked like he relaxed for the first time in his life. But we were aiming for inflammation care. And she started sending me these pictures where we had made some tweaks. We had added some ingredients that we hadn't used prior after getting clearance that it was likely safe. And we started seeing what we were looking for, which was rapid. This was about 5 days different. She sent me this one before the cream, but it had to be bandaged closed before. And we just started seeing healthier looking skin heal. This was Charlie's knee that had been open like this for 6 months. And on that same cream, within a week later, we saw it shrink, and we saw the level of the open wounds start to close. So I got excited and we continued to work. And then other families started reaching out to us, and we worked with hundreds and hundreds of families with epidermolysis bullosa. For those who don't know, this is a skin condition. It's genetic, where if you touch the skin, it blisters. So they live like perpetual burn victims. There is no cure at this point. We're fighting for a cure. The cure will not be cannabis. Cannabis is the quality of life. But in reality, most of these kids end up, or a lot of them, excuse me, I don't like to overgeneralize, but infection is a big problem, as you can imagine, right? And in a healthier skin set, infection is less likely, and we see just healthier children overall. And all of these kids are kids I worked with. These are not pictures that went anywhere. This is sent to me directly. I didn't pull these off the website. I know each one of these children's names. And we started getting references. Yep. We started getting references for these, the success that we were seeing. And because of that, we continued to work with EB Kids while the Collagerous Network was in operations. I show this to you again, not for shock value, but to show what can happen safely, effectively, with community action when there's flexibility in the policies that we put in place. The people who need it, they will work with it. We developed this cream over the course of 2 years. We helped hundreds of kids. We ended up calling it Charlie's Cream. Again, this was never sold. This wasn't a business. Not a single dime was ever asked. I paid for most of this out of my own pocket. We did fundraising and we moved on. So in conclusion, I would like people to consider these things when they decide to advocate and make policy. Proposed CBD scheduling and control measures, especially those presented as protection for public health and safety, must account for all affected communities, particularly the patients who will suffer the greatest harm from overly restrictive policies. CBD isolate alone is not sufficient for many of the most serious conditions. Overly restrictive limits on THC, minor cannabinoids, and terpenoids can strip away therapeutic value and leave the most medically vulnerable patients without meaningful treatment options. That is a fact. When you hear the studies haven't been done yet, just know they will be eventually, but we've lived it. Just as we lived with CBD stop seizures, and that is now also a fact that is proven. Member states should preserve medically necessary flexibility and position so that access frameworks reflect clinical reality and not stigma. And with that, I want to thank you all for having me here today. Here's Silas today at 19 years old, graduated high school, 2 seasons in the last 5 years, thanks to the ability for us to treat our kids. I hope you allow that in your member states as well. Thank you.
Forrest, thank you for that most powerful testimony. There's nothing like being thrust into the limelight of activism just to help your beautiful, now healthy son. So thank you very much for that. All right, we'd like to shift the focus from the lived experiences we've just heard to the international policy framework that is increasingly shaping access to cannabinoid medicines worldwide. This is a potential game changer, and to help us understand that perspective, we're honored to welcome Pavel Pakta from the Czech Republic. Dr. Pakta is one of the most experienced experts in international drug regulations with decades of work inside the United Nations system. He served the International Narcotics Control Board from 22 to 25 and previously held senior leadership roles, including acting secretary and deputy secretary. He also served as director for international regulatory affairs in the International Cannabis and Cannabinoids Institute, and he has participated extensively in meetings of the Commission on Narcotic Drugs, ECOSOC, UN General Assembly, and the World Health Assembly. Dr. Pakta will help us understand how evolving interpretations of international conventions are shaping the future of CBD access globally, and why the teleological review was necessary. Please join me in welcoming Pavel Pakta. Distinguished colleagues, Dr. Pakta, you've recently taken to social media to voice your opinion on CBD. On those posts caught our eye, which is why we invited you here today. Governments are currently establishing or updating regulatory frameworks for hemp and cannabis with low THC content. In doing so, it is important to take note of a recent classifications by the International Narcotics Control Board regarding both the control status of cannabidiol, CBD, and the interpretation of the industrial cultivation under the single convention on narcotic drugs. Until recently, the board endorsed the position that all CBD obtained from cannabis by extraction should be controlled as a narcotic drug under the 1961 convention, even if it contained only trace amounts of THC. This view is based on the literal interpretation of the treaty's provisions. Cannabis extracts are listed as Schedule 1. CBD is obtained by extraction, therefore CBD would be considered an extract and thus subject to control. However, this interpretation was increasingly questioned as it did not fully reflect one of the fundamental objectives of the 61 Convention, namely that substances subject to international control are psychoactive substances, liable to abuse and capable of producing dependence. A strictly literal interpretation risked extending control beyond the treaty's underlying purpose. Since 2023, the board's position has evolved. It now follows a teleological interpretation grounded in the object and purpose of the convention. Under this approach, purified CBD obtained from cannabis extract does not have to be controlled as a narcotic drug, provided it does not contain controlled levels of THC. This understanding is reflected in an official INCB documentation, including Form B, which references substances not covered by the 61 Convention that may be manufactured from cannabis, such as CBD, CBD isolate, CBDV, CBN, and other cannabinoids not under international control. It should be noted, however, that the 61 Convention does not establish a specific THC percentage below which product ceases to be considered a cannabis extract and instead becomes a substance not under control. Governments therefore retain the responsibility to determine such thresholds in good faith, ensuring that regulatory frameworks prevent abuse while remaining consistently with treaty obligations. Further, in 2024, the board reconsidered its interpretation of Article 28, Paragraph 2 of the 61 Convention on the International Cultivation and Industrial Cultivation. That provision states that the convention shall not apply to the cultivation of cannabis plants exclusively for industrial purposes, described in the text as fiber and seed. Previously, the board interpreted this
classification as exclusive. However, upon reconsideration, the current opinion is that the fiber and seed should be understood as illustrative examples rather than an exhaustive list. Accordingly, the cultivation of hemp cannabis with low THC content for the extraction of cannabinoids not under international control, such as CBD, may be now regarded as industrial cultivation within the meaning of Article 26.2. At this time, governments must ensure that cannabinoids under control of the Convention on Psychotropic Substances, particularly THC, including THC obtained as a byproduct of extraction, are controlled in accordance with the requirements of that convention. These classifications provide important legal certainty for governments developing hemp and CBD regulatory framework. They demonstrate that treaty interpretation must remain consistent with the object and purpose of the conventions, protecting public health while permitting legitimate industrial, medical, and scientific uses. Dr. Pakta, please help us understand the thinking behind these new IANCB treaty interpretations and what they all mean.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here. It's a great honor for me. And in fact, I must say, I have been also very much impressed by the statements of the speakers before me. Thank you for the invitation. Mr. Chair, you have just said everything. I think I should close my presentation at this point. But I would like also to refer a bit to what one of the predecessors before me said, this feeling how the international framework has been changing, how all the framework of these discussions in the Commission and in other international meetings redirects the international drug control towards health and towards human rights. If you read, for example, I'm not anymore a member of the board, but if I read the last report of the board just published 2 weeks ago, I was impressed by the very strong references to human rights. All the provisions of the international drug control treaties should be implemented, but in line with the requirements of human rights. So I think, yes, there has been a change in this international environment. There has been a change in this direction, as I've just indicated. But of course, the final responsibility for the implementation of the treaties is with the national governments. And I understand in your country, there is a federal level and there is a state level, and that all these levels play an important role. And of course, it should be understood that the international controls, please, should not be considered as an obstacle for some kind of national controls. There is a lot of flexibility. Everybody in international bodies is, repeating the fact that the treaties are flexible and that you have a lot of discretion at the national level to implement. So we have seen this change with respect to the CBD, but of course WHO acknowledged CBD is not to be controlled as a narcotic drug. Then there was some discussion if CBD is obtained from cannabis, whether it should be controlled as a cannabis extract. As you have seen, even INCB concluded in 2023, no, even of course also CBD extracted is not to be considered a narcotic drug. The only cannabinoids which are under international control are THC, and HHC was put under international control last year under the 1971 Convention. So this environment has been changing. However, we have heard many times in this presentation of this what your chair has just said about isolate, THC isolate. But in this presentation, we have also said about the importance to have some THC in this presentation, THC in it. So please, the conventions, of course, allow the use of cannabis containing THC for medical purposes. This is allowed by the conventions. It was very much emphasized in the year 2020 when this commission deleted cannabis from the so-called Schedule 4 of the 1961 Convention. That was a schedule of some kind of suspicious and dangerous substances. The government should be careful with respect to them. Cannabis has been there, for example, with heroin for very, very long time. In 2020, on the recommendation of WHO, this commission deleted cannabis from that schedule. So cannabis, yes, cannabis is containing THC, is a controlled substance under international treaties, but it should be available for medical purposes. In fact, it is an obligation of parties to the treaties to control these substances and by the same time to make them available for medical purposes. Implementation at national, federal, and state level. So I will not speak long because the facts have been stated. But when I was listening to this, so please also THC, also cannabis containing THC or CBD with some THC, that should be available. This should be made regulations in such a way that this is made available to the patients. And when I was in the board, there was a discussion about the home cultivation. And some people were, this is a problematic issue. This can be easily misused. The quality is not like if you would get it from a medical practitioner and so on. But the final conclusion of the board, and it was also communicated to governments, that also home cultivation of cannabis is in line with if it's for medical purposes, is in line with the requirements of the treaties. I didn't mention it in any publication, but I didn't consider it so topical. Now I see it may be very, very important, to emphasize that this body also acknowledge that it is not ideal, that of course, if the doctors would deliver it to it, and you could use it, would be better. But if necessary, this also should be considered as a cultivation for medical purposes, and that should not be prevented. So the governments should consider this, and this should be considered also as a legal activity as for medical purposes. So the world has been changing towards the needs of the patients, and please do not consider this international framework now to be a big objection for the implementation at the national level. And this really depends very much on your national regulators, how these substances will get accessible to our patients. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Pak. Thank you, Dr. Pakta. Okay, so we're going to bring it back to our friend Wade. I would like to introduce one of our members. His name is Nate Landau on the end here. Nate is a cultivator and educator known for his work with living soil systems. This regenerative cultivation approach focuses on building healthy soil biology to produce cannabis plants with greater expression of cannabinoids and terpenes. His work reflects a broader movement in cannabis cultivation that prioritizes ecological stewardship, sustainability, and plant health. Nate also worked closely alongside Wade and was part of the community of cultivators committed to improving cannabis for patients throughout careful breeding, observation, and respect for the plant. His perspective helps connect the technical craft of cultivation with the patient-centered ethos that guided much of his early work around THC-rich cannabis varieties. Please join us in welcoming BAC Council Member Nate Landau.
So I speak very briefly. We up here fortunately got the pleasure and honor to know Wade, and most of you haven't. So I just want to try to paint a quick picture of who he was. The whole idea of the side event was born when we found out the sad news that he passed away, and we were all lost their words. Like, how can we commemorate him? And then I believe it was Michael Krowitz said, let's do a side event in the UN. And just like that, that's why we called the Veterans Action Council. One thing led to another, and it led to this amazing panel. I had a very unique relationship with Wade. I unfortunately only met him in person once, but I spent over 1,500 hours with him on Zoom calls because we are policy nerds that we spend many hours on Zoom calls. And Wade was a person where I would have the worst day, and then I would get on the Zoom call, and this little window would pop up, and just seeing his smile on his face, boom, changed my mood right away. He always never had any bad word to say about anybody. When obviously he's very knowledgeable, and when he would need to correct you, he would do it in such a constructive criticism that you have no other way but to implement it. It's amazing. This is a story that sums up. This is my last phone call I ever had with him. I was in a bureaucratic war with the city of San Francisco. They were trying to shut down a facility, and he heard I was going through a rough time. The time I didn't know that actually dying and didn't have many breaths to spare. He was on oxygen. Called me up and asked me how I was doing. I was trying to push the conversation, asking how he was doing or his medical condition. He would allow me and he cheered me up for 40 minutes. And only after we were finished, we were near the end of the call, I heard him breathing really heavily. I'm like, why are you breathing heavily? He's like, oh, I can't breathe on my own anymore. I'm breathing oxygen. I said, wait, why would you do it? You need every breath you take. He's like, I want to help the world with every last breath I have. Michael, we didn't have time to talk about it, but I did promise him at the end of the call that I will name Spain after him because I want to make sure his name continues to live on because he was such an amazing person and he has such a large impact in my life. Thank you for being this part of this so long.
All right. As we close this side event, I want to thank our speakers and the sponsors of this event, the Veterans Action Council, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, with support of the DRC and that foundation. Of course, the European Coalition for Just and Effective Drug Policies, ENCOD, Fields of Green for All, and Law Enforcement Action Partnership, and the Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access. And of course, all of you for being here today in person and those who are joining us online. You and the world are now aware that CBD for medical purposes has been illegal worldwide for some time. The VAC and Dr. Baca wanted to remind you of all this. What the world chooses to do with it, we will now sit back and watch. What we've heard over the past hour reflects an important development in the evolution of cannabis policy and science. Long before governments began debating cannabinoids and regulatory frameworks, there were patients, caregivers, cultivators, working quietly to solve real problems. They were not focused on politics, they were focused on outcomes of whether someone suffering from seizures, chronic pain, or
Neurological illnesses could finally find relief. It's one reason why I've spent the last 26 years selling medical cannabis over the counter in the United States. We cannot wait for governments and for regulators to catch up. We had to risk our freedoms and put our freedoms on the line and do so every day because we are also patients and we're tired of waiting. So we have had to create all this from nothing. The development of CBD-rich cannabis varieties like Harlequin did not emerge from theory alone. It came from observation, compassion, and collaboration between patients and cultivators who were paying attention to what worked.
Those early efforts helped reveal the therapeutic potential of cannabinoids that today are being studied, regulated, over-regulated, and discussed in policy forums around the world. We also hold today about the evolution of international frameworks. Interpretations of the conventions continue to develop as scientific understanding improves. The recognition that purified CBD does not require the same level of control as psychoactive substances reflects a broader principle that regulation should follow evidence and serve public health. But policy discussions can sometimes lose sight of the human stories that made this progress possible. That is why we frame today's discussion around the life and work of Wade Laughter. Wade was not working to influence international treaties or regulatory interpretations. He worked with plants and with people. He listened to patients, he paid attention to their experiences, and he believed that if something in this plant could help someone suffer less, it was worth the effort to find it and cultivate it. Many ideas we discussed today about CBD patient access and cannabinoid diversity were being explored years ago by people like Wade and the community around it. Our work helped open the door to the conversations now happening in rooms like this one. As we move forward in shaping policy, research, and regulation, it is worth remembering where much of this knowledge began, not in institutions, but in communities committed to helping patients. Policies shape the future of medicine, but people like Wade Laughter are the reasons those policies matter. Wade never asked to be remembered as a pioneer. He simply
wanted patients to have something that worked. I will close this out with a few words from our veteran brother and impart some of his wonderful words to you that inspired many of us along the way. So with that, breathe, my love.
And then I promise I'm going to stop. I've really been thinking about what is compassion? And I think compassion is it's a verb. It's an action word. One can feel empathy for another person's situation. And that's a beautiful thing. That's how we grow our hearts. That's how we grow our understanding of who we are and where we are in the world. But compassion comes into play when you do something about the suffering of another person. Yeah, compassion is a verb.
Thank you very much, everybody. This has been a great CND. Thank you, Wade. We love you.
The Veterans Action Council is a PACE Radio Network content provider.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at Pace Radio.
I got a story that just broke moments ago, and the headline here from CNN says that Justice Department reclassifies state licensed medical marijuana as a less dangerous drug. Attorney General Todd Blanche signed an order Thursday reclassifying state licensed medical marijuana as a less dangerous drug, changing a policy that has for decades made the drug's potential medicinal benefits more difficult to research. The order from Blanche does not make recreational use legal under federal law. Let me repeat this. That does not make recreational use legal under federal law. Instead, it moves licensing of medical cannabis from Schedule 1, which are the most restrictive drug categories, such as heroin and ecstasy in it, to Schedule 3, the same category as some prescription medicines like ketamine and Tylenol with codeine. It also gives a tax break to licensed medical cannabis dealers and eases some restrictions on researching its efforts. They say these actions will enable more targeted, rigorous research into cannabis' safety and efficacy, expanding patient access to treatments, and empowering doctors to make better informed healthcare decisions, Blanche wrote in a social media post on X. Now, the Drug Enforcement Agency will also hold administrative hearings before a judge on reclassifying cannabis more broadly, Blanche says. Now, sources told CNN that the White House and the Justice Department have also faced increased pressure from the cannabis industry to get the scheduling change over the line. As a plan to move forward was being finalized, some of the department had hoped to publicize its efforts on April the 20th, a day of celebration, as we know, but we're told that it would be unseemly. Two sources familiar with that discussions have said. Now, the reinvigorated effort likely to face its swift legal challenges from critics who say that the downgrade could encourage recreational use of a harmful drug. Smart Approaches to Marijuana, an advocacy organization that opposes medical legalization or marijuana legalization, said in a statement that it will be taking legal action immediately against this order. The only thing they say that the only thing that today's decision advances are the interests of an addiction for profit industry.
Yeah.
Brown paper on the table, crumbs on my fingertips.
You laugh, say I'm too careful. I'm just trying to make it hit. You grind, I line it perfect. Little hill, not too tight. Fold it like a secret, tuck it in and twist it right.
Yeah.
Twist the end, pass it to a friend. Let it catch, let it bend in the wind. Slow drag, let the whole day blend. All I need tonight is to twist the end. Twist the end, watch the cherry spread. Little glow, painting circles in my head. Slow talk, we forget what we said. All I need tonight is to twist the end.
Tray full, some fat, some skinny. One sparkle when the light hits gold. You pick out the loudest, say, this one's for when we're old.
Hey!
Sticky fingers, stain tips, call flare flies, where roll another memory we ain't burned through yet.
Twist the end, pass it to a friend. Let it catch, let it bend in the wind.
Yeah, yeah.
Slow drag, let the whole day blend. All I need tonight is to twist the end.
Yeah.
Twist the end, watch the cherry spread.
Yeah.
Little glow, painting circles in my head.
Yeah, yeah.
Slow talk, we forget what we said. All I need tonight is to twist the end.
Roll a worm or hash.
Put it in a paper, line it with herb, twist it up. Open the jar, get out the pen and stick it in.
Oil slick on the paper.
Oh yeah. All I need tonight is to twist the end. Twist the end, watch the cherry spread. Little glow, painting circles in my head. So talk, we forget what we said. All I need tonight is to twist the end.
Grind a herb,
Oil slick on the paper,
sprinkle on some kill.
wrap it in half.
Infuse that joint, make it a point to enjoy it all. It's gonna be a ball.
Twist the end, pass it to a friend. Take it back, shake it. Slow drag, let the whole day blend. All I need tonight is to twist the end. Twist the end, watch the cherry spread. Little blow, painting circles in my head. Slow talk, we forget what we said. All I need tonight is to twist the end.
Just to twist the end. Girl, I need you more. Girl, I need to make. I need to make.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
I woke up this morning with a crack in my head.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Pace Radio Show. We are coming to you from paceradio.net and 420pace.ca. Good evening, Toronto. How you doing?
I'm better today than I was yesterday. That's for sure.
Yeah, you've having a bit of a rough go lately.
Yeah, well, you know what happens when you gotta stop taking some pharma meds for a while and then have to go back on them, and I did because I had to because of an infection, right? So now I'm on week 2 of trying to rebuild the methotrexate back up. So hopefully I can start feeling a little less pain. Maybe good.
Yeah, is the spring, because of spring coming in, is that affecting?
Yeah, the
things?
humidity always has a huge issue with it. But again, like I said, it's because of not being able to take the methotrexate for 10 weeks. It has a lot to do with it, right? So when I'm taking the methotrexate on a regular basis, I don't need any pain pills. I'm usually pretty good. I don't have little stiff and stuff in the morning. But then I also have to remind myself that I don't have any immunity when I'm taking that. So I have to be super careful. Like I went out this morning and went with a friend of mine to go get her a tattoo, and I come back and now I've got a sore throat this afternoon.
Oh, that's not good.
And I'm like, great. So and tomorrow's med day, so it's a real on the cusp of whether I take it or don't take it, because do I want to fight whatever this throat thing's going on, or do I want to make it work? I don't, you know what I mean? It's a real hard bag to kind of balance sometimes. But you've been through these things too with your.
Oh yes. Well, my treatments, I have to make sure that I don't have a cold or I'm sick or anything for me to do my own treatments here at the house.
Yeah.
And as soon as Gail feels that she's got a sore throat coming on, she tells me right away.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you have to be even if there was a kid, he'd go upstairs and stay upstairs if he was sick. He went through long COVID. I never got COVID once. But that's because I masked, he masked, we washed our hands. I was super careful, but I could have, but I also didn't take my methotrexate the whole time he was sick. Neither way.
Yeah. I just had grandkids come around.
Return fast, right? And even though he's 16 now, he's still going to school, and it's not quite as bad as the kids with the fingers up their noses, but you still got germy kids. And there goes my gate. Sorry, the cat was down here, and every time she jumps over the gate goes.
Yeah.
At least it's her first. At least it didn't set the whole house off. That was a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. So tonight we got a guest that we haven't, neither one of us has spoken to in quite some time.
I was actually telling Taven earlier that the last time I seen Matt in person was 2013 in Saskatoon at the Harvest Fest. Because it was the traditional Harvest Fest, and that was the last time I seen him in person was 2013. And I'd been involved in his court case prior to that, and had met him like before that in Toronto, and you know what I mean? So it's, I've met him a few times in person. He lives out east and I'm out west. But like I said, I've had the opportunity to meet all of you, most of you anyways, in person, because I was able to travel east to go to some of the events and stuff. But it's been since 2013 since I seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
I can't remember last
Hug
time.
anyway.
I know that I wrote an article about Matt for the Cannabis Digest newspaper for TED. Wrote about Matt's case in that. But instead of you and I talking about our occasions with Matt, why don't we just bring him into the program and we'll talk about what he's doing now. He's got himself he's launching a soft launch on a new business, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk some memories as well throughout the program. So
Absolutely. We've got 20 years of those behind us. Oh.
yeah, that's right. All right. At this time, we'd like to welcome Matt Murnaugh to the Pace Radio Show. Welcome, Matt. How you doing?
No, thanks, Al. Hey, Tamara. Thanks for it's good to see everybody.
Yeah, it's so good to see you too, bud.
It's
you guys stand out like it's been since 2013 since I was actually able to physically give you a hug.
Yeah. Well, I live kind of as a recluse in a very small community now. We're like 1,500 feet up a mountain, basically. In the escarpment. Yeah, so it's an Ontario UN biosphere where I live, so it's brilliant. But it's made me a recluse.
Yeah.
In many ways, which is good.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I kind of enjoyed having my closest neighbor 7.5 kilometers away from me before I moved back to BC. Like my closest neighbor was 7.5 kilometers. That was close enough. And now I've got a neighbor that I can reach out and touch. So yeah.
Right. And so it's been nice. It's been 6 years. Going on 7 years Canada Day since I've moved up to my community of Grey Highlands. And it's been fun. It's a great space. I have an apartment attached to my house, and oddly enough, I had Sadie. So if people remember some of the early day photos, Sadie took a lot of the early cannabis stuff, all the early cannabis photos in Ontario. She was in the apartment for a while.
Yeah.
I moved out, and then I was like, I don't want a tenant or someone I don't know in the house. So yeah, I'm opening it to people.
Don't want anybody I don't know in the house. Let's open an Airbnb.
There we go.
But they're only here for a short time. They're only there for like a couple of days.
That's right. Yeah.
Maximum days of visitation is 4 days. After that, you got to go.
Well, yeah, because I don't take bookings Monday through Wednesday.
Perfect.
So
okay,
I still get the privacy. It's a keyless entry, so it's got its own separate entrance. I'm on the one side of the house right now. It's rare, and people are gonna think I have this big house. It's not huge. It's just designed weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to go through. For me to get to the other side, I have to go through a hallway and then up a flight of stairs to the back. And it's designed in a way in which it has its own furnace and hot water tank. So it's 2 houses combined as one, basically through a hallway.
So here's the listing. I've got it up on the screen there.
Thanks.
For everybody. And
yeah, you can see.
It's in Flesherton area to give people an idea where you are.
Well, the beautiful thing about this whole trade war we've got going on is a lot more people are staying in Canada. So I think promoting these Airbnbs that are 420 friendly or something that we should really start helping the friends, because I think more and more people are going to be staying here than going, and especially with the jet fuel and stuff, people aren't even going to be able to afford to fly to Mexico. To be honest. Right. So even, you can drive to Ontario. It's only a 3.5 day drive. Trust me. And I just bought myself a Mercedes, so I might just have to drive out there and come see you.
Wow.
It's old Mercedes, Maddie. It's old, but I did buy myself a new vehicle. So I said I might have to drive it out to Montreal. So you're on the way.
That would put you on the way.
You could spend the night at Matt's cannabis-friendly B&B.
Cannabis-friendly B&B.
I see here, as it says here, right here, 420 friendly apartment. You have a forest sanctuary for couples to escape to. A 6x4 foot TV. Holy smokes, that's huge.
It's bigger than me.
I mean, when they brought it into the house to set it up, because you actually have to, like, you know, it's a profession. You got to get at that size of TV. You're getting a professional to install.
Yeah.
I
like this line.
Fit in the door, like in one of those box. It barely fit in the door, and it's beautiful. I mean, I have a nice 2-seater in front of it, and some of the best ones are watching like documentaries on it. Or
right. I think it's included in the pictures. I just wanted to get, and I'm going to go through the pictures here, but I just want to get to the point where it says no smoking unless it's a joint in the cozy interior of a crisp forest air.
Yeah. It's actually, that's from a plaque, not a plaque. I have a C&E Carnival, like 1980s, early 1980s mirror that they used to, you know, you could win as a prize.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, they used, you know, it'd have like AC/DC or Guns N' Roses or whatever on it. This one had that thing, and I put that in the room. So I'm trying to, that's what I like about this is I have multiple Rubbermaids of our cannabis history. And I didn't know what to do with it. And so now
there you go. You can do something with it, this way as well. Like I've got here on the screen the list of things as your description.
Yeah.
Of the place.
Well, you know, when I first moved back here, Taven actually had to go to kindergarten, and I had to go and buy actual like T-shirts that didn't have pot leaves on them, so I could take my kid to school. Because all the T-shirts that I had all had cannabis and pot leaves on them. Like I didn't have anything that didn't say medicinal or have a pot leaf on it, or it was from some event. And I had to go find a T-shirt to take Taven to school, so I didn't show up at kindergarten with a pot leaf, and I had to go buy something because I didn't have anything.
And now, though,
yeah, I know. Now nobody cares. Nobody did that either, to be fair. But you know, really a different vibe from Alberta.
Cinema room. I guess it's your living room area.
Yep.
Seamless
so you guys serve
arrival.
breakfast or anything with this, or is this just like, there's a kitchenette, you fend for yourself, or are you guys available for any part of the experience? Or
there is, I potentially available because I am around the property for others, but I am in the freezer is a local food company called Cater Foods. That's my friend Ryan. He does prepared meals, and they're frozen, so those are in the freezer, and you can just microwave those. So there is some pre-made meal options if people want to buy money for that. I also keep McLean's beer for people that want to drink beer in the fridge.
Right.
So yeah, it's a fully local. The Good Clean does eco-friendly cleaning. So it's nice to be able to contribute to my community in this way.
Yeah. Keep it local. Sure. I see that as you say, you provide complimentary maple syrup for your morning waffles, and that's syrup that you made.
Yeah, that's like a hobby I picked up here. It is making maple syrup, and it's awesome. The seasons are like I'm very in tune with the seasons and where things go. So I just finished maple syrup making season. I think I made about 30 liters of maple syrup.
That's great. But I mean, you go from growing cannabis to making maple syrup too, right? Like, are you able to grow any cannabis on your property, or are you wanting to, or do you, or would that be sort of something to add to the experience?
That's a great question, because I hadn't grown cannabis in a year. And it's been forever since I grew cannabis. Like I hadn't grown cannabis. Like I was like, holy freak. Other than having bail conditions not to grow cannabis, right? I was always growing.
I know, right? How you
so
got
I
yourself
had a full year off. I took a year off. there will be 4 plants on the property. They usually get the size of Christmas trees, like big, we got to take, my friend, we took a chainsaw to bring one of his down. That's how
Yeah.
so people are like, oh, what's going on? I was like, no, these are just guys who are just like finally given the opportunity to grow cannabis legally and have farms and like wide open spaces to do these things. And they're producing some great cannabis. And so somebody asked if they could just grow cannabis for me. I was like, yeah, sure. And then their report was like, so I emptied out the chicken coop into it and spent the day rototillering it into the soil. I was like, okay then. And they were huge, like huge. And it's like giving away vegetables now because it's so affordable.
Yeah, it really is.
When you can grow it now. And some people, I've seen the days of getting very little off of an outdoor plant, but I've also seen the days where you can get a couple pounds plus off of one plant from outside. So
so
with your 4 plants, you could get 4 to 8 pounds.
The only thing is I live right downtown Cranbrook, so I don't get that opportunity quit rubbing it in, because when I could, they weren't legal.
Right.
Besides that, the deer would probably eat yours anyways.
Yeah, you're right. The deer would eat mine.
Now, back to your sanctuary here. I see on the listing information here that top tier gear. People have access to a volcano vaporizer, as well as high quality glass bongs and pipes.
Yeah, for sure. Because these are things that I have in my home.
Right.
And so one of the things I really came up with this idea was I was at my friend, the eco affiliate, I was talking about it, and I was like, I smoke weed in my house. Like, I'm an adult. I pay the mortgage. Like, I did not buy a house to smoke weed outside. It's just, it's not happening.
No,
They said to me, because I've been trying to figure out what to do in the back part of my apartment, and they said to me, my boyfriend would totally rent a room from you just to sit in bed and smoke a joint. I was like, all right, then I guess we're going to do an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the nice thing about it is there's so many people now, because of the legalization of it, that are not hiding behind it anymore. Let's face it, the numbers maybe haven't exponentially grown, but because people don't have to hide it so much anymore. And then kids are also turning 19 and they're, getting more curious, and they're finding it's less harmful than alcohol. But Airbnbs and vape lounges are where the future is. And I wish that we could get our government's heads wrapped around the vape lounge thing. That Airbnbs and places that are cannabis friendly, where people can go smoke cannabis and not have to stand outside in front of a hotel and try and hide it. You know what I'm saying? Because even if you go to a hotel, you can't smoke inside your hotel room.
You get charged for smell.
And then you don't really want to be like outside the front of a hotel smoking a big fatty, even though we did it back when we really weren't supposed to be able to, because we thought it was, because we could. You know what I mean? As patients, and that's why we did it, to make a point. Where now you don't really have much point to make.
I see, Matt, you got 3 patios that people can choose from. Whether you want to sit in the shade, whether you want to sit in some sun. As well as you got a propane heated gazebo.
Yes.
And a fire pit.
Yep. And so
you can be year round.
I live in a ski resort, Beaver Valley Ski Club.
Perfect.
It is a fall season, and it's been designed. This is the beauty. I've enjoyed this property for 6 years now. It's really helped me take care of some things for my mental health after cannabis legalization. When you look back at it, you're like, what was I doing to myself and my health? Probably not the best. So this place has really provided me an opportunity to have reflection, to build my strength back, where I'm like, wow. So I just would like people to like come and use the space and then recharge themselves and see the opportunity that, with 3 patios, it really gives you the chance. Plus, other than cannabis, there'll be like 20 tomato plants growing on the property, probably about a dozen head of lettuce, bunch of kale, bunch of radishes. So I do grow a lot more vegetables these days.
Yeah.
And it lasts all year. Like I haven't bought tomato sauce like since last year, since September.
Yeah. So then you have some grown vegetables right there on site that I don't know whether you got abundance, but you know, maybe be able to make it. Yeah. So
Do you think you're going to need some extra staff for this, or do you think you'll be able to handle this by yourself?
Well, the nice thing is I'm pretty certain I can do it myself. I'm hired out for the good clean, so they're going to rotate the rooms for me and do their eco-friendly cleaning methods.
Yeah.
So because it is a lot of like we are a recreation, we are a tourism community. I work for the Chamber of Commerce. I know we're a tourism community. We just to put in perspective, there's about 10,000 people in our municipality, and then on the weekends, starting at May 24, we'll go to 30,000 people on the weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
Cottage country, right? Like it's cottage country now. Pretty much.
We're in a cottage country. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. How far are you from Grand Bend?
I'd have to look. Probably like hour and a half, 2 hours. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
We're about 40 minutes from Collingwood. We are in the Blue Mountains, so we are the neighboring community of Blue Mountains. So
yeah, like you said, ski resorts.
the ski resorts are all up in
Yeah. And as you mentioned the Chamber of Commerce, is that something that you would be coming like if you're involved in it, so you would get yourself a little plaque on the wall saying that you're a member of the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, like I work for them now. And so yeah, I'm gonna intend to join.
Right.
Because they do things where they have website explore southgray.ca where they do Airbnb listings. And so this is like having worked in the space now for the last 10 months. I'm just like, I have this apartment in the back of my house, but you know, the guy down the road's renting a yurt or a bunkie. And they're like, everybody's got some, like they're all nice. And so where I'm working with mine is that I have a lot of this, like the 420 posters, like the original Niagara Falls 420 poster, some of the articles, just to give the history of cannabis legalization a place to live.
Right.
I believe there's some of that in your pictures as well. I'm just going to bring them up here.
BC changed legislation. We can't have any Airbnbs in certain parts of the province anymore.
Oh.
Because of lack of housing and stuff. So a lot of the Airbnbs that were owned from out of province or out of foreign investment were all had to be sold or made into full-time housing. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So here's a photo tour of the place, the living room. That's that big TV right there.
I was going to say, look at the size of that. That's great. Things bigger than I am.
There's the volcano right there.
Yeah, there's nobody wants to duck out halfway through a movie.
No. Well, I would have ADHD. I can't sit through a movie.
Yeah.
Nice,
Nice comfy
get for
couch.
90 minutes this long. I got to get up during the break because I can't sit still. What are you talking about?
What's it say on the lid there? AMT.
That's we didn't find, we bought that at the Mother of Yard sales in Collingwood. And that's a fellow's he arrived in Toronto with all his belongings in that trunk.
Oh, that's so cool.
So it's a wooden trunk. It's beautiful. So it would have been like he shipped his goods when he came across.
Wow.
And so we grabbed his name. His name's on this. And we, of course, naturally live in a Google era. And we found his obit. So it was clearly something his family put in the Mother of Yard sale.
Yeah, like an estate sale or something, right?
Yeah. So
here's the kitchenette.
Kitchenette, yeah.
Get the microwave.
Cute. That's cute.
And the small, those are what, convection ovens or something?
Yeah, that's a convection oven. And there's a whole bunch of Star Wars glasses in the background there.
Oh, up there, yeah.
Yeah,
and then
that's
you have access to a barbecue too, right? So really, like, if you really need to, you could barbecue outside and stuff too, right?
You got a fridge, I see here.
That's super cute. I love it.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is so cute.
And you know, I noticed that the cupboards are open. That way, people can just throw stuff in and take stuff out.
Yep.
No
I
use
like
having
that open
doors
carpet
on.
concept. I like that concept a lot.
Yeah, bedroom. I can see the pod friendly flags, curtains there.
Yeah. But I also the art hanging above the bed was from the previous owner. She painted that. That's like a resemblance of the forest when the sun goes down, the golden hour.
Oh, nice.
So it's a balance. It is weedy. Is I had
Leftover-
actually, when I was working on this, I was like, how weedy am I going to go? Like, and it came, the curtains were a big debate. Like, am I just like, should just have normal curtains? And I was like,
No, go weedy.
Oh yeah, go yeah.
If you're gonna do 420, do it as weedy as, put as many posters up and give a little rundown. I mean, you're a writer, you can write great stuff. Give them all history, little background on little placards all over the place. Share it, because nobody else is gonna remember about us unless we share
Right.
it.
and I think that's kind of one of the, and it gives it a nice little niche that people can experience that. So ultimately, that's the goal.
That's
is to
great.
It's a
build
big
this-
view of the curtains.
I love them.
There's some of the memorabilia. April
Yes.
20th, Central Park or College Park.
But I mean, you
College
got so many great photographs of you yourself. You could get them framed and hung on the walls too, Matt.
Wow.
Because I mean, you standing with the megaphone, you standing with that 500-foot joint. Like, come on, like you got some great shots.
Yeah, and a lot of it I like. So I like the posters. There's so much, I
Yeah.
could rotate, literally. You could rotate through.
You could.
rotate it, yeah.
Every
Yeah.
6 months, change it up and turn things around a little, and because I mean that's helped that you have repeat offenders that like coming back.
Bathroom, stand-up shower.
Yep.
Mm.
I actually like that shower better than the shower that I use every day. I was like, why don't I just go to the other side of the house? That's often my favorite. That's the garden, probably June.
Oh yes.
And so a lot of my photos these days are just like my feet up, looking at the garden, because that's like, my feet are, these are actual views where I would put my feet up and hang,
Right. Yeah.
nice the gazebo. I think it.
So just like a couple single occupants. How many people will
Two
it be?
people.
Yeah.
Couple, however you define couple.
Whatever, it doesn't matter to me. As long as
Two
it's
people.
two people.
Yeah. And that's actually from at night. If you see the forest one, that was the photo we talked about earlier where it was it was night.
Oh, right. You said it was, yeah.
Right
And it
here.
was the moon off the snow.
We get,
Beautiful.
on a full moon, if the it hits it right and it's so perfectly clear. We have so much snow and we have there's no light noise in the community.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
you're looking at 5-6 acres away before there's a light.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Great.
nice. I know what you mean.
So
Sitting outside there a couple nights this week, sitting on the deck and looking up at the moon and all the stars that were out there, and I could hear the crickets over in the pond.
Yeah.
So, and I think, especially people who went through legalization, I was watching some of the videos. I haven't watched them in a while, and they gave me stress. And I was like, oh, yeah, I actually still feel the stress from those moments. And I think people need to, lots of people, regardless, but especially from where we were, there's needs for healing. I think regardless of what people who have been raided, arrested, gone to jail.
We all have been, right?
Right. So
Like that's what people often say to me, like, why can't you just get a pardon tomorrow? I said, because there was an article published in Maclean's magazine, and it's forever. So I'm not eligible for a Canadian pardon. Thanks for asking. Because they always just say, well, you could just get a Canadian pardon. Well, no, I just can't.
All righty. I see it's about on the hour. Time for
And interesting on that side of things, because I don't have a criminal record. People often think I do.
No, you don't.
Right. So I'm 5-0. So I had a volunteer role in my community where they came out. We just need your like background check, vulnerable sector, and I was like, I couldn't do it online, so I had to go down to the OPP cop shop. And the best part was the guys are like beforehand going over the list of people, and they're like saying all the people who wouldn't come in, which they were correct because it was just me in the waiting room. And the cop was like, well, let's get this Myrna guy out of the way. And so they lead me back. I'm following the cop. It's weird. I sit in a chair and he's like, him and his partner pull up my CPIC and they're just like mortified. They just see them looking at me. They're just like, what is going on here? So the cop's like reading it. It's like, you know, it's long, been arrested, like all the data, right? From that's out of date. And he just, Matt, have we ever convicted you? And I was like, no, I'm 5-0. And he's like, okay, we're good here then. And so I'm walking out with the guy. He's like, so you created like cannabis legalization's a thing. What do you think about it all? I was like, I think it's the best thing ever. But, you know, I do miss when my heart goes boo, 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 when the cops roll up and I'm smoking a joint. And he lost his shit. He was like that. He just was like, just lost it. And, you know, for all you know, he's going home eating gummies or something.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can now, I think is absolutely amazing that the veterans have gotten, you know, some traction with what they're doing. You know, for every time that we took a hit, it was worth it. Like, I mean, so I can't go to Japan. It's not that big of a deal. You know what I
It would
mean?
be another brick out of the wall.
Right. But again, like I said, for all the times we took the hits, it was worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
And it still needs more work to be done. There's no
For the
doubt.
patients, absolutely. I mean, the recreational market is pretty, you know, except for the, you know, aspect of how the growers and stuff are treated and licensed producers, but that's like, you know, between them and the government and their paying system, not, you know, whether it's working
That's
or not.
not us. We're customers now.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I don't have to go in a back alley and wait for some seedy guys.
I think there's a funny thing to that is that, you know, part of it is a lot of the people missed out on the, or don't know the history.
Correct.
And there's nowhere where they can teach it. And so
No. And David
mean-
doesn't have the, you know, we used to have that, the cannabis or the, you know, history in Vancouver, and that's been all taken down. That was all sold to whoever. I don't know how that all went down.
Well,
but-
I've created some AI generated music and put it to pictures that I took during my times as being a writer, and turned them into music. And for example, the Global Marijuana March, people are just like, holy shit, when they see the photos of the, you know, building to building wide, the amount of people that would be going down the street. Whereas now you're lucky if you get 50 people to show up.
Well, Vancouver had a fairly good turnout this year. Like Vancouver, actually, people showed up this year. I was shocked.
But it's not just for cannabis. I think, you know, when you look at the numbers that we had for at its peak that pushed through legalization, no rally, no political movement was drawing that many numbers other than gay pride.
You're right.
Yeah. Right. So the numbers were huge.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get those numbers, at least in Toronto, they're not pulling numbers like that, or Vancouver.
No,
It's
I've
Trump.
been there.
No, you can't get that many people out for Trump. And so really, you know, we don't really need it. Cannabis protesting, we need cannabis celebrating.
Yeah.
Anything.
Well, the
Kind of-
celebration, and again, the medical patients, we need to have some vape lounges. We need to have, you know, there's things that there can be some improvements, right? There's definitely some improvements that can be made. But like I said, I'm so grateful that my son will never have to worry about getting busted for smoking weed.
Yeah, it's like as mainstream as Nickelback, right? So
Right.
it's it's that over. It's like that over. So we don't have those words. But I do the same thing when people heard like around like you're gonna let people use cannabis. I'm like, it's not that foreign of an idea. You know, I had people tell me they went to Nashville, they went to a vape lounge, they started explaining it to me. I was like, oh, I just let it. I was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
We already did that already. We're past you.
Yeah, and it's the Ontario Smoke Free Act. It really is.
It's the same across Canada. It's exactly what's stopping.
There is, as Tamara says, I mean, it's patients have a right to congregate and to meet with one another and socialize.
Socialize, educate each other,
Yeah.
share experiences.
But so does but so should everybody else. Like
Yeah,
it shouldn't.
That's number two. You definitely do. There's some good court cases put together by other organizations and clubs that have existed.
Before we jump into court cases and stuff, we have to take a break, guys.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. All right. You're watching the Pace Radio Show. We are live here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca. We have our guest Matt Murnaugh here with us as well. And we will be back in about, I just got to find it, which commercial I'm going less than 3 minutes. Be right back.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Camelford Lifestyle Shop, open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats, and look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Camelford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Camelford, Ontario.
That way. I'm having enough someday, and I'm gonna make sure it stays that way.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, welcome back. You're watching the Pace Radio Show. And tonight, Tamara and I are joined by our special guest, Matt Murnaugh of the Green Highlands Bed and Breakfast. We hadn't mentioned the name yet, so I thought I'd throw that in there.
Appreciate it, Al.
Not a problem. And then she said, it's a soft lunch, and you're still working with things, right? So
I'm still working out the ideas. I mean, it's all like kind of new to me as I'm doing it, but I definitely, as I say, it's a cannabis friendly space. I think it's a good niche to be in, especially when I look at where I am. You can live in, there's glamping domes, bunkies. It's like there's some pretty fun places where I'm like, kind of want to stay in that glamping dome in Meaford, like this right? Church, right? And so I'm trying to create a space that would appeal. I mean, I would take anybody's welcome, of course. If you want to use the volcano, have at it. If you want to smoke a joint, have at it. If you don't, that's fine. We're about 2.5 hours north of Toronto. The Ganja Yoga out of Toronto, that group, they came up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they came up. They rented a place.
What's her name? D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We did it there as well. But go ahead.
Yes, they came. The 420 yoga people came up or Ganja Yoga. They came up and they had 18 people at their retreat lodge, which was a beautiful space. And they told me we sold out in the first day. And I was like, really? Okay, then hold my joint.
Right. I'm noticing that there's a lot of even just women's retreats and stuff that are selling out. So if you add cannabis to a lot of them, because apparently it's something that women are really going to, turning towards cannabis to get rid of all their problems.
Some people just need to get away from all the noise.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Matt offers a place where people can do that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Because that's what I had to do. I had to get away from all the noise. That's why it says I'm retired, and it's true. There's nothing left in cannabis to do, as far as I need to be doing.
Yeah. Now, if people want their Wi-Fi, there is Wi-Fi, and so you can get online according to you.
You can sit in the gazebo even with the Wi-Fi. It goes all around the property.
Before we get into the court stuff, I had another question for you, and that was on the what all, as far as people come there, you can relax. Like when we go camping, we just stay where we were camping and just relax and basically do nothing. But some people like to go for hikes or adventures or something like that. You got any trails on the system on your property?
I have just on my property, if you didn't want to leave, you could walk. I have a meditation path through the 1 acre of woods. So it's a good circular path. It has a little bit of an up and down to it. So it adds like a little bit of, that up and down part. So yeah, you can just scoot out the back and do some circles around the meditation path. If you wanted to go 15 minutes away, you could pick up the Bruce Trail at Eugenia Falls. You can get to Hogs Falls, which is 8 minutes away. So you got 2 waterfalls within.
Waterfalls.
10 minutes. But Eugenia Falls is higher than Niagara Falls. But the thing about it is, going there in July and August, there's not a lot of water running over it.
Oh yeah, okay. I can see that. Yeah.
So it's pretty. Now's a great time to go see it because it needs discussion. Same with Hogs. There's a small waterfalls, like a couple hundred meters from my house. You have to actually go over the bridge. I live on a private road. It's named after my neighbor. Multiple generations. It's my neighbor's great grandfather, actually. So
that's cool.
Multiple neighbors, multiple generations back. That's what it is. They've been very welcoming. They all can see. Like I sit on my front porch and I'm smoking joints, and they walk by and wave. And so because it's legal, right? And that's what I said. It's like Nickelback. People like, yeah, the guy's smoking a joint. And we're gonna go home and drink a couple beers.
Yeah.
Have fun. And most of them are, gonna go and have a couple beers and sneak behind and smoke a joint, just not tell you about it, because they still won't. Like the ones like that are like between the ages of like 75 and 85. Them people are still smoking doobies. They're just still not telling you about it.
Oh, that's probably true too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's still people who have concerns and fear of the stigma being associated with it.
I think it's
they have
it's gummies. Everybody eats the gummies. Like, I just had someone that's like, oh, I don't really want to use cannabis and nothing, and they're like doing CBD gummies because they got pain issues. I was like, talking to them, I was like, you should just smoke a joint. Okay, like just and they're like, no,
gummies are just
like my husband does every night. No, I don't want to do that. And so the next thing I hear is that she's doing gummies. I'm like, there's a product for everybody. It's accessible for everybody. They just go to a store. many ways. It's very,
I was talking with my daughter-in-law and my son recently, and she mentioned to me that my son had gone someplace had been there for a while and wished he had taken some joints with them. So he'd have a joint to smoke with his friends that he didn't expect to run into. And she said, well, why don't you just go to the store?
Right. That's what makes it nice. You're just like, I didn't bring any weed with me. Oh, I'm just going to go over here.
Right. And the nicest thing too, like if you don't have like a whole pile of money, you can go buy like a few joints for like, $5 or $6. Like, if you're not rich, you can go buy a 19.99 small buds, like 3.5 grams and get yourself through a couple days. Like, we had to go to a CD bar and buy a $5 pinner from some creepy guy behind the bar back in my day. You wanted, and then you weren't sure there wasn't full of seeds.
Yeah, and so these are things that make legalization and what we did well worth it.
Yeah.
And putting, as I look back and I think of these things and comes back around to where I am, is it really put the mental health through the rigors. So I needed a space. I do meditations here. My diet's like, I just made potato leek soup. Like the leeks are growing on the property. The chives are growing on the property. So
nice.
After being here for so long, being a recluse, I figure, well, if I can invite 2 people and they want to enjoy the space, similar to how I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Go for a hike, take in the Bruce Trail. We got 130 kilometers worth of Bruce Trail that runs through here.
Nice.
So yeah, you could go for a hike during all day and then come back and, snuggle up in front of the TV, watch a good movie.
Right.
Yeah. I was out on a hike on the trails here. We're here and we have some trails out back. And I'll take back, for example, today I took back some apples that were getting old, and it hadn't gone bad. So I went for a walk and threw them out there on the trail for the deer, because there's a few deer that hang around here on the property.
Right.
I have 5 or 6 in my veranda, in my carport, on my lawn, on a regular basis. There's more deer shit on my lawn than there's dog shit on my lawn, and I still have 8 dogs.
Wow.
And they come right in her deck, right into
my veranda. And like I tried like walking off because I was trying to grow some vegetables, right? So I put everything on the red room, blocked everything in. Them son of us were coming right into my red room and ate all my kale and my lettuce last year. I was so mad. Oh my God, I was mad. And then I put it in the kitchen.
And she lives downtown.
Wow.
I live like 2 blocks from downtown Cranbrook. Yeah. And I moved back here in 2014. It wasn't so bad, but coming off the farm, I still have chickens in my backyard. Don't kid yourself. But coming off that 4.5 sections to come into having neighbors like that I can spit on their house. So, you know what I mean? It's been a bit of a transition. Let's put it that way. But we've been here, like, going on 12 years. So obviously I'm still here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's complete.
As far as you mentioned, a lot of people had to do a lot of things. A lot of people sacrificed and court challenges. You yourself, you had a court challenge that battled here in Ontario, and you got pretty high in the court system. You want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Tamara was part of that case. I mean, and I think if you look at the Senate report on legalization, it thanks Canadian medical cannabis patients.
Yeah.
And so people those are the histories, those are the things that are missing, I think, from people when they use all this great cannabis. They're just not that we have to tell them or they should know. There's nowhere to know.
No.
It's missing, right? So we're trying to close that loop for them. And so so the court case Tamara was a part of. We had 3 weeks to go into the Canadian courts and show that Health Canada was basically running a fake program. There was 20,000 Canadians in it.
Mm-hmm.
See the numbers now. I mean, we can talk about that in a few, but and we won. Like we had a long shot. Like oddly enough, the Ontario government paid for the court ruling, and I think that ruling sort of it was the start of the end.
Yeah, it segued kind of into everything else that was going on too, right?
Yeah, and all of a sudden, a young man named Justin Trudeau sort of was like started moving around the same period. Like, so we had a 2-year window as we waited to go to the Court of Appeal, where cannabis was just, it just became, it was the everywhere thing.
Yeah, it became the hot topic of the day.
Yeah, and we had great momentum up until that point, but the ruling striking down Canada's marijuana laws for possession and growth, we could have changed how everything was. We might have never had a trafficking system that was adopted by the Liberals. But it was all about personal possession and personal growing, where you should have been allowed to possess and just grow it yourself.
Just grow your own.
Right, grow your own.
It's still like that's one thing with the legalization that is like kind of a joke is the four plants, because we know as patients we're allowed 5 per 1 gram. So it's kind of a slap in Canadians' faces when you're not even allowed to grow 5 plants, which is equaling to 1 gram for medical patients, right? So 4 plants, sure, like if you're able to grow them outside, but if you're in a situation where they can't be seen above your fence, or in my situation, I'm downtown, I couldn't grow myself a 12-foot tree. Unfortunately, I'm stuck growing the 4 plants inside, and I could never produce enough that I would need.
Because in BC, you can't, your plants can't be visible to the public, right?
Yeah, to the public. Like even like the Invermere police or the RCMP went into this girl's place a few years ago. She was having there was a garden tour, and she had 4 plants in her backyard. They even raided the 4 plants, right? Like ripped them out of her garden. I don't think there was any charges that were related. I don't think it went any further than that. But I mean, still for them to, because they were being displayed in a garden and somebody saw them. Like,
yeah,
that's ridiculous. So things like that, and it's still, we have a couple hiccups here and there. And myself, I'm still friends with the lawyer who did that court case, and him and I still talk about fun things to do. I think we talked about lounges, and somebody asked, I've been asked, what about the Ontario Smoke Free Act? I'm like, it's a private residence. I think we're totally fine there. But I do miss lounges. I miss, so if I can create that experience for people on a vacation level, I feel like it'll be good. And micro something that we had, Hot Box, Beaver Central, and
right. Yeah. I know that I have ran an interview actually that you and me and Blaze did from Peterborough on TMC.
Right.
Yeah. And actually Blaze, that's his store, his and his wife's store. That is one of our sponsors here on the network, the Camel for Lifestyle Shop.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
And so
but even that, like, it's so hard to do, like even getting sponsorship for our podcast, but even doing a cannabis cup, like I did 2 cannabis cups out here, 2018, 2019. But once legalization hit, trying to get sponsorship was absolutely impossible, and try and do any event without any sponsorship. And then try and find people that were willing to even like throw an ounce, because that's at least 28 entries, right? But nobody was growing. Everybody kind of got out of doing anything, and it was just like, okay, and then COVID hit, of course. But even trying to come back to doing something along those lines now is near impossible, because the stores aren't allowed to advertise, they're not allowed to input anything, they're not allowed to give anything away, and it just makes it really difficult unless you're still in tune with the the underground, which I'm not, right? So
but it's funny, it's interesting, the Karma Cup had a listing in the OCS. They went out for one summer, they did a Karma Cup event.
Yeah, because they sold everything out to the legal market, though. So it's legal market that could, put their entries in, but there was a certain way they had to do it, right? And they could only put so many out there. It wasn't like when Sarah did it and they had 124 entries of each product, right? Like they couldn't even get into that. They could only, I think they could only put 28 entries out or something that had to be under the 30 gram limit or something along those lines.
I still say that it was still an illegal market, and it was something that people had access to at a at a nickelback level, not a
in the legal market it was buds, indica, sativa,
Yep.
and
I
hybrid
bought
category
several.
and pre-roll joints.
I
Yeah,
bought
we-
several. I saw the ad. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm coming back and buying a couple of those because it was for fun, right?
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
see
We did live broadcast of a judging session, and there was
Nice.
probably 8 of us here that were all sitting around the table.
That's great.
And yeah, we broadcasted live the whole thing. So
And we wouldn't have had that along like without legalization, and I think those
Yeah.
are incredible steps
Yeah.
that we've made. And as I say back to where I'm at, I was just like, I have space, and if people want to have that experience of using cannabis like adults, as I like to say, in their house, I go to friends, they're like, okay, we're going out to the garage, and I'm just like, motherfucker, it's -20 out.
yeah.
Like,
I know all about that. I went out and bought a fishing hut and put a heater in it.
right?
I know, and like that's the thing. Like we don't smoke. Like I don't smoke cigarettes anymore anyway. But there's no smoking allowed in my house. But you can smoke cannabis in my house. Like it's like you come in, you can smoke a joint, no problem. But don't light up a cigarette. No.
Yep. And so and being able to cater to that, people that are looking for that experience is going to be nice.
Yeah.
Providing them with some history. When I think about it, I'm like, this is my home. So how can I make it? What do I want to make it unique about? And there is, it's a beautiful
They
space.
keep you right there too. You can kind of monitor what's going on. Party, like you can't have partying, and you know what I mean.
Oh,
You're not
yeah.
going to come in with a group of people and start like being unruly because I know you're right there, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I live on the other side of the house. But yeah, I'm not anticipating any problems either.
Right.
I'm like, cannabis has gotten so boring.
Yeah.
But people still want that experience of like smoking and like being in a space and like watching a movie and vaporizing with a volcano, which they
What
do.
about people that live in apartment buildings that like strata here where you're not allowed to smoke in your apartment,
Even
right?
a
So you can't
condo.
smoke cannabis in your apartment. So you can't even smoke in your own home. So having the ability to even maybe sit and watch a movie and smoke a joint on a couch would be something that's appealing to people because they can't even do that at home. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of places that you can't smoke in your own apartment.
And that's why we need locations like lounges and,
Yeah.
and, and cannabis friendly B&Bs like Matt's.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's so many restrictions because of these big, corporate owned apartment buildings and stuff, because of whatever. You can't smoke in them. You can't smoke anything.
Yeah. Like Bryn says, he lives in a condo. He can only do a vape pen only.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, I miss it, and I do miss lounges quite a bit when I do.
Yeah, well, it was always a gathering of people, like-minded people. We share ideas, share stories, experiences, and people say, "Well, what would you do?" Well, you can do everything from live podcasts, such as you did. Other places had game nights, they had music. Just think, you take out the alcohol and you put in the cannabis. Why can't we have a lounge now that even with the non-smoking stuff, such as beverages?
That I don't understand. Because of the no smoking of anything. You can't vape in public either, though. Like you're not allowed to vape in a restaurant. You're not allowed to vape in a bar either, right?
I do think there is. There are ways around, not ways around. There is a law. There is research licenses. We see that with at least one business trying to do it with market research in Toronto.
Right. Yeah.
I know Abby was a consultant for. I don't know how they're doing. There are other ways to get that research license. Additionally, I think we talked about it in the break room. Medical patients and should have a place to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a freedom of association. Cannabis did have a culture at one time. There are people who like cannabis as a culture, subculture. They subscribe to cannabis as a subculture through movies, books, literature, what have you. And so should they not have a place to gather? So there's lots of issues that bring up that law in terms of like people with cannabis should be able to do that are
As a human right. Yeah.
as a charter challenge there.
Right.
It's interesting. So in my way of dealing with it is just like I'm just going to set up a B&B where two people can come and we'll just micro the feeling and they can have it amongst it. You know, because I had the person who's going to photograph this place, she's only 30, right? So she missed that. Like she missed it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She was telling me, she's like, yeah, I used to sell, I sold weed. And I was like, yeah, when was that? She's like, 2016, when I was in like high school. I was like, really?
I ran into a girl today that worked out for cannabis culture in 2010. And I'm like, oh, so you're a little bit behind. Like you just got, I was 18, 2010. I'm like, oh yeah, 2010. Yeah, you were just kind of getting into the whole scene, I guess. By then we were already kind of rolling into it, right? By 2010. But yeah, small world though. How many people that have that were involved that are no longer involved in doing other things? You know what I mean?
That's the way it should be.
I'd like to stop.
I've had a great opportunity to do many other things since, I worked for my local chamber of commerce. I was working in the Toronto Financial District after Kronos Group. So, I've been able to make a career out of it.
Yeah.
The stock price of cannabis helped put a large down payment on this place. So that was very helpful. Selling when everybody's buying is a very good word of advice. And those that prepped us by, if you watch the TMZ podcast, you would have remembered the Wolf of Weed Street. So I had good stock knowledge, right? And so if people followed that and went against the popular decision making at the time and cash out, and I had a friend who's a real estate agent and he was really encouraging owning properties. So this is all happened, right? So it's different. It's a lot different than where I've been. Looking, especially when we look back at rallies and charges.
Talking about rallies, it's time for us to take another break. We can come back after break and discuss rallies, being that we are presently right in the middle of 420 and the global marijuana marches.
Sure.
All right. Okie dokie. We'll be back in about 3 minutes or so. We're going to be talking at the rallies and stuff like that. As we just mentioned, you're watching the Pace Radio Show. We're live here at 420pace.ca and Pace Radio Network. I'll get it out. Bye-bye.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Re-rolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
That way. I'm having enough someday, and I'm gonna make sure it stays that way.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, welcome back to the Pace Radio Show. Tonight, Tamara and I are joined by Matt and Erna of the Green Highlands B&B, bed and breakfast. Matt's opening a new cannabis-friendly B&B, and we're helping to get the word out. And we need more of these type of businesses. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. What's that?
Absolutely. What a great idea. Like I said, it's a great idea.
Exactly. And he's got a lot of history to discuss with people while they're there if they want to hear it. And he's got lots of artifacts that he can put on display. And talking about artifacts of all that stuff, 420 rallies have just happened. There was one in Vancouver, out west. I don't know of any that happened here in Ontario.
No.
But at one time, I can remember the first ones, the early ones, Niagara Falls.
Yes.
That happened there at the Highway 420. Yes, the real Highway 420, and Victoria Park Avenue. They're going down Head Hill down to the falls. You were involved in some of the later ones there, and then you guys started in Toronto. What was it like trying to set up such a large event like that in Toronto?
Well,
being involved in?
yeah, we got a lot of experience beforehand. So, and moving through sort of a system, it was fast because Niagara Falls, when we did Niagara Falls, we ended up getting Toronto media. And same with when we did Hamilton, we got Toronto media. So we kind of learned how to do the rallies on a much smaller scale. Also getting arrested. Somebody, a friend of mine, messaged to say, hey, do you know this time 20 years ago where you were? I was like, yeah, I was sitting in the fucking Hamilton jail. For giving away a pound of weed.
Oh, were they all the pre-rolled joints?
Yeah.
Yeah, pre-rolled joints.
Pre-rolled joints. Yeah, I remember that.
So those are, but those are like, hey, but we were rented the library where we talked about things like tourism. We talked about tourism.
Rosie Rothenbaum spoke about his hash smuggling days.
Yeah. Smuggled hash by the ton. I mean, going through rallies, we had Brian O'Dea who ran like 21 companies and smuggled cannabis by the tonnage, and so it's interesting. These are our legacies. This is our culture, our history, and it seems to be missing, in my opinion.
You know what? You're right. It's like we just kind of got brushed under the carpet with all the rest of the dust, right?
Right, and it goes even further back than us, of course. I'm talking, Rosie have been from Rochdale College. I mean, you can ride your bike. It's that avenue in Bloor. People walk by it all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a need for the historical markers.
Yes.
Out there. And including, the 420 rally at Yonge and Dundas Square. But before we went to the square, one of the plaques, the first plaque I got framed, the first poster I have framed is 2008, 420 Yonge Street at College Park. There is a park in Toronto on Yonge Street with the address of 420 Yonge Street.
It's not a huge park though, was it?
No.
No, yeah.
Very small. And it was perfect because it kept us as a group more self-contained. The first year we were at Yonge and Dundas Square, we had like a small number of us, but a big space. It didn't work well in terms of optics and logistics. So by bringing it closer together, people could form community and connect, right?
Yeah.
And so out of that, we hit a year where we filled that spot. It was like we had 1,000, and we're like, all right, well, you know what this means? We're heading back to the square. And we fought with them for years over that space. They would like, oh, it was brutal. I watched one of the videos from 2014, an interaction with the cop where we had, you know, a very powerful speaker system, I might say. Very impressive speaker system on a cart. So it was mobile with a mobile microphone. And the cops were just shitting themselves. They're like, what the fuck? You're going to jail for mischief there, buddy. And it was a circle. And I did that. I looking at it now. I was like, man, it's a good thing that cop left because he would have maced me or something. Because we had enough people that would have jumped him if he had tried to arrest me, right?
Right.
Those are when we look at the rallies. But the big breakthrough, and this is what makes cannabis so weird, is herb for herb, herb for herb.
Yeah,
The guy
won $1 million.
Yeah, he wins millions of dollars. It's like, I'm going to put it to cannabis legalization.
Yeah.
The next year he funded, partly, we had like other sponsors. He funded getting a permit. So they went from like arresting me there to like, we'll give you a permit. So like you can do everything you want. Like we'll have union workers, you know, we'll have union workers set the stage up for you. Like it was crazy when you think about all these things. It was crazy.
Now, did they now there was a switch at one point. Did they ask you to leave because the crowds were getting so big that you're filling Yonge and Dundas Square, overfilling it onto the streets?
Yeah, so that was one of the issues. We definitely closed off a side street beside the Hard Rock Cafe of all places. And we had gone to them and we were like, you should let us close it. Like you should just agree to being like, hey, we know it's coming. They're going to get a large crowd. And so they had threatened a fine and they never did. And they would try and move us out of there. And you're like, what do you know? This is like, look at all the billboards in this center of this area of Toronto. It's like 20,000 people an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what you say? It's Toronto's version of Times Square in New York.
Yeah. Right. So of course we're not going to move from there. So those are all the things we were doing. And it's unfortunate in some ways not to see those types of culture. I mean, they do them, but then, you know, I see this, they'll have a summer event, definitely. But where you get the crowd of 20,000 people, we just don't see that anymore. I mean, that's probably the Nickelback effect, as I like to refer to it, as like cannabis is everywhere.
Yeah. It's, I know for the 420, Allison, she went to Queen's Park where the Global Marijuana March was held at.
Yeah.
And she was the only person who was there. Now, you know, 420s haven't been held in years in the city. So, like, where were the last ones would have been held at?
Probably
Nathan Phillips Square.
Yeah, Nathan Phillips Square. They tried to go there, and you're just like, it just, you know, at that point, a lot of because it's organizers, the people who are organizing are no longer doing it, right?
Correct.
If somebody doesn't build your community, if there's not someone building community falls apart.
Yeah. I've often said that as advocates, as more people, you know, get educated on cannabis or start promoting cannabis, it's sort of like a wave where there's a small few people, and as we get older, more people sort of come in behind us. Younger people come in behind us, and we just sort of eventually people just a lot of us just tend to fade away.
Right,
Just,
that's fair. I mean, in many ways, I feel like even tonight, I was like, "Oh, this is like the guy who comes out at WrestleMania and he just makes one appearance and he goes back,
Right.
returns where, oh, prepared. We know he's still doing, we know where he is. He's doing stuff. Okay, he made an appearance. And that's what it is. I mean, and brave on both of you for continuing. I mean, Al, you must have like the longest running podcast. Like, buddy, you've been doing this for a long time.
I've been doing it for a long time, and I have a friend that's been doing. I have two friends that have been doing it longer. Yeah, the Pace Radio show itself, this show itself, it started in 2010, so this show is 16 years old.
I mean, that's longer running on a weekly basis than MASH.
Yeah, and I was doing it, and we started off at twice a week.
Right.
Broadcast,
With
yeah.
several different hosts. Like
Four
he's gone
hosts.
through a few hosts too.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And these are, I mean, it's amazing that you continue, and it's the love of broadcast, you can tell.
Yeah.
And for me, when I was done with Kronos, that was the other thing. When I finished with Kronos, when the industry took a down, it basically went to the shitter. And I was one of the ones that Kronos is like, Matt, we're just gonna have to let you go. Like, we're trying, and it was in the middle of negotiating a contract that would have been, I had stock options in the company that I did very successful with, and they let me go with a 6-month severance package. And I still talk to a lot of people there and I have no hard will with them. It just was a great experience, so much so that, with their practice, and John Fowler over at
7 Acres, yeah.
7 Acres, he was out of the business by then too. Him and I worked together, and did testament to John. We worked on rebranding my resume. And so we were able to get me into the jobs in the financial district after Kronos, which, people should put in perspective of some of the things I've been doing after life after cannabis. So, I was fortunate, and I know a lot of people were not as fortunate. They didn't have the skill set, and so that has impacted a lot of people that we know.
Oh yeah.
So, I'm fully aware of those things. So I do keep an eye on things, even though.
Yeah, well, just as we didn't talk about it when we first started the show, but talking about longtime advocates, Ted Smith, you see what's the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club, they just got raided.
Yeah, they just got raided. And I think we, as patients, and that's the thing I do think about patients, I still have it in the back of my brain still spins. It spins. Cannabis is easy for me. It's not a challenge, and that's why I don't do it. It just doesn't challenge me like some of the other problems that I like to deal with now. And so I was thinking about that, and patients should just, to be quite upfrank, go to these stores and tell them whatever your ailment is, and you will be escorted out of the store.
Yep.
Yeah.
And have it, and start having it done, and just and write down, hey, this was the store I went to, this was the time of day I went to, this is what I said. Because it is an issue of access. Like, mail order is bullshit when it's on every fucking corner. Excuse me for the language, but it is like, and
That's
yet
true.
you can't go in to a place where the guy's like, hey, I got this, and the guy says, what's good? Like, we've had 10 people this week have all bought this and have said it has helped them. He hasn't given they haven't get the budtender, take it to a different level of training.
Exactly. And it's not medical advice. That's not medical advice. That's an opinion. Other
not
people.
even an opinion. That's the stat. That's saying.
Well, it's like experience with other people, right?
And bought this. It's not. It's they're stating something that has happened to the business.
Right.
Have you thought about as far as the patient end things to the stores? Have you thought about maybe a dispensary, a medicinal dispensary right within the retail stores? No different than a Shoppers Drug Mart, where you can go in and get all kinds of, regular medicine, over-the-counter stuff, and then you got prescriptions at the back.
Well, they've introduced the wellness portion of the stores. So now they've introduced wellness, while you can get CBD caps and tinctures within the store, right? So those aren't recreational, kind of like we were talking about. Like, when did lotion become recreational? We've discussed this before. So they've already introduced that slowly. You can't get medical advice or whatever, but there's wellness portions already in the recreational market.
So it's that wellness part, and I wouldn't. If there should be shops like Ted Smith's shop.
Absolutely.
There should be those dispensaries that are out there so that people that are medical patients can sit even in a waiting room, waiting to meet their, whatever you want to call it, dispenser, and connect with each other. Because those are things that are missing, is that. And I think people do need community, especially medical cannabis patients need community. So we see that with these retail shops. It is a flaw in our system.
Yes.
And it's stuff I watch from afar, and it doesn't take, because I've been so tuned in after Kronos and I was burned out. It was very, very, I couldn't do cannabis. But I still keep an eye on it.
Yeah. You can always just keep an eye, watch from a distance to what's going on.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
And I have friends, and how's it impacting them, talking to them. So when we see that, I know lots of growers, not good for them, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, that's really changed a lot when it comes to the growing end of things, for the way things were done under the MMAR program versus the way that they are now. So and they're doing a lot more inspections of patients' gardens now than what they did.
Because they have to justify the money that they're using for taxation for these community safety units. So that's why they're hitting the patients, because they have to justify the budget.
Well,
yeah, and now I don't know as far as in the stores, I haven't seen any, but apparently, according to the reports I've read, now you can go to some stores, you can get clones.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was way back around here, but
that was way back. I mean, that market is. Yeah, I had somebody say they bought OCS, like seeds from the OCS, and they grew it, and they were happy with the end product.
They're happy with them.
It's not a big market, though, which is odd to me, considering how big seeds were a market in Canada.
One reporter said pre-rolls in the U.S. have overtaken flour. So that sort of tells me convenience, and maybe convenience of going to the store, buying a pre-rolled joint is easier than growing a plant from a seed. But
yeah, because nobody's got any patience, right? You got to have patience to be able to grow that plant to actually get the end product.
Right, it's taking your time and all that, but as you said, a convenience. And I'm the same way. I didn't grow for a year, and I'm doing it. I'm going to put 4 back out there because it's good. I need my meds, but I have buddies that they all grow. It all comes into me. Like cannabis is given away. I give it away myself. I have a indigenous reserve about an hour away. It's got about 8 stores there.
Ours was shut down.
So
ours
are still operating. Ours are still operating, and that's another problem with the system. I mean, why are they? Right.
Exactly. But they had an election out here, and apparently the old chief said it was okay, and the new chief says not so much. And it's got to do with the band, nothing to do with anything else. But the chief just said
a band issue. For the most part, it's a band issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, down here the band is fully in support of them. They
Yeah.
pay licensing and all that. But the question on my brain is, why aren't LPs able to, why shouldn't LPs be able to sell to them by not applying their tax stamps?
Yeah, the tax stamps and there's
Because
other
that's
things.
what it would be. And why are they not involved in the system? Why have
They
they
should
not
be,
been
yeah.
invited into this system?
They should be, correct.
And
correct.
it's a gross oversight. It's gross.
Excellent.
Why are these LPs not allowed to sell on indigenous reserves without the tax stamp? Are you telling me there's a store for 10 minutes away from my house? So it's around the corner in the village. You know how it's an hour to get to that indigenous reserve. Do you honestly think the majority of the time I'm actually going to go to the indigenous reserve?
To drive an hour.
Yeah.
If you use up
Drive
more
an
gas.
hour? Base gas? I mean, I can fill up on gas when I'm there too, but you know, I like the experience. The experience is different.
I'm an hour away from Tynega. So if I was going that way, then I got my cannabis THC base.
Right.
But I wouldn't just drive down there specifically just to get it, because it would cost me just as much to go down there.
Right.
So,
And so they should be in the system. Like, and those are
completely agree. And I know here they will allow, there's something to do with indigenous store or legal stores being on indigenous lands on some reserves, but it's not. There's things, for example, our former sponsor, Legacy 420, or they could use their money that they made in order to sponsor events in their area to help out with different things. And but under the legal end of things, they wouldn't be able to do that.
That's true too. It's 100% true. So those are unfortunate. And we'd have that kind of the same thing if we were to do a legal 420. The sponsorship has to, as long as it's not seen by children, you have to guarantee it not being seen by children.
Yeah, but they don't have a problem. I have a bone to pick on that one.
That MGM, I get the ads constantly, like, you should gamble tonight. You should gamble. And like, what is this?
Yeah.
Alcohol ads.
Yeah. Here, have a cigarette.
So those are things, right?
Yeah.
Mistakes things that could be fixed. I don't think but their best part is it's none of our concerns. That's an industry thing. That's how I look at it. It's like, doesn't benefit me.
No, that's what they got to keep advocating for on their end of things to make changes. It's sort of like on, you're opening up a cannabis friendly business. I don't know if you've been in contact with the Canadian Cannabis Tourism Association.
No, I haven't gone down. I don't know what value they bring. These days I can grow I can go join my local chamber of commerce and they'll post me on their website. There's some value there,
right?
And there's nothing impacting like my, I don't need them. They're not lobbying that I need, for them to, for lobbying. We're allowed. There's nothing that's not allowed. I just don't see a need.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where the retired part comes in, is like, let someone else do it. I did my share of lifting. I did heavy lifting. I'm done. There's the younger people doing it.
And that's where I was talking about, the wave of people. We all come in, we do our things, we get to do so much. Other people come in and they work on improving things as well.
Right. And that's what makes it great. And I accept that. And that's why I'm like, come join me in retirement. at my place.
That's right. Well, we're down to the final minutes of the show. So talking about retirement, I am going to bring up your listing again for your B&B. Just so everybody knows, it's listed here as the Enchanted Forest Sanctuary, but it's also known as the Green
Highlands.
Green Highlands bed and breakfast. So it's right here. All the information's here on the on the listing. There's cinema room. You've got a kitchen. You've got a bedroom. A cannabis sanctuary. People have access to a volcano. Patios, and there's lots of stuff in the area to do if you're looking to get away from the noise.
Yeah.
So I will put the link for that in our chat, and then that way anybody who's watching can find the listing.
Yeah, thanks.
Green Highlands B&B cannabis friendly.
That's the best. Green Highlands, I like that too.
Yeah, we'll come up with the name.
That's a good one too. Reminds
Yeah,
you of the
I know. Eh? What do you do? Eh? Decisions.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Not off the screen. The message. I sent the message out so people will be able to click on it, check out your listing. Hopefully, do a booking. And you never know. I have family that way, so I may stop by someday.
Yeah, right.
Free for you, Al, anytime.
Thanks, you, Matt. Thanks, appreciate that.
Anytime you want to, just because you are a hardworking warrior that needs this type of space. When you tell me about your space, we're just supposed to sit there and talk about our forest.
Yes, exactly. Sounds good. We'll do that. All right. Anything? Shout out? End of things, Matt?
No, that was my shout out. Thanks to both of you. And again, Al, 16 years. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
It's an incredible amount of work.
Yeah.
I know how hard it is.
Yes, it is. Tamara?
Thanks for coming on the show, Matt. It was good seeing you, and good luck to your future Green Highlands. I hope to maybe be able to visit it someday too.
That'd be great, Tamara. Anytime. You're welcome, free of course, because you were part of my court case, so I hang by those people.
There you go. In Ontario, you got spots to stay, Tamara.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We'll talk to you all later. Thank you very much, as well as thank you to our sponsors, the Camelford Lifestyle Shop, limestonecityhydroponics.ca, and at ease.ca, as well as thanks to my co-host, Tamara Cartwright, and to our guest, Matt Murnau of the Green Highlands B&B. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye. Let's share PACE everywhere. That way it can help create peace. People everywhere advocating cannabis education.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
You're watching the 420 Pace, found at 420pace.ca.
Tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on 420radio.ca.
and blue, still dripping rain. Name of some old bank in silver. Phone number fading like a stain. Leftover umbrella. Who did you wait for? Stood by the door like a loyal little girl. Leftover umbrella. Lost in a crowd. I'll carry you home in my shopping cart. Leaning by my cluttered doorway, next to boots I never wear. You smell faintly like wet pavement, and someone who used to care. Leftover umbrella. Who did you wait for? Stood by the door like a loyal little dog. Leftover umbrella. Lost in a crowd. I'll carry you home in my shopping cart. Maybe you remember lightning. Maybe you remember hands. All I know is on the worst days, you open up and understand. Oh, leftover umbrella. Who did you wait for? Stood by the door like a loyal little dog. Leftover umbrella. Stay if you want. I'll keep you around in my shopping cart.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News for April the 23rd. I'm live here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca. Cindy is off again today, but she will return next week. And I also like to remind you to hit the like and subscribe button if you like the news that you're hearing and want to spread it around. Today I'll be talking about many topics, including psilocybin use in the U.S., a global guide for medical cannabis patients, something that a lot of patients, I'm sure, would be interested in. Plus, we'll be talking about our pets and cannabis overconsumption of our pets. But first, I got a story that just broke moments ago, and the headline here from CNN says that Justice Department reclassifies state licensed medical marijuana as a less dangerous drug. Attorney General Todd Blanche signed an order Thursday reclassifying state licensed medical marijuana as a less dangerous drug, changing a policy that has for decades made the drug's potential medicinal benefits more difficult to research. The order from Blanche does not make recreational use legal under federal law. Let me repeat this. That does not make recreational use legal under federal law. Instead, it moves licensing of medical cannabis from Schedule 1, which are the most restrictive drug categories, such as heroin and ecstasy in it, to Schedule 3, the same category as some prescription medicines like ketamine and Tylenol with codeine. It also gives a tax break to licensed medical cannabis dealers and eases some restrictions on researching its efforts. They say these actions will enable more targeted, rigorous research into cannabis' safety and efficacy, expanding patient access to treatments, and empowering doctors to make better informed healthcare decisions, Blanche wrote in a social media post on X. Now, the Drug Enforcement Agency will also hold administrative hearings before a judge on reclassifying cannabis more broadly, Blanche says. Now, sources told CNN that the White House and the Justice Department have also faced increased pressure from the cannabis industry to get the scheduling change over the line. As a plan to move forward was being finalized, some of the department had hoped to publicize its efforts on April the 20th, a day of celebration, as we know, but were told that it would be unseemly. Two sources familiar with that discussions have said. Now, the reinvigorated effort likely to face its swift legal challenges from critics who say that the downgrade could encourage recreational use of a harmful drug. Smart Approaches to Marijuana, an advocacy organization that opposes medical legalization or marijuana legalization, said in a statement that it will be taking legal action immediately against this order. The only thing they say that the only thing that today's decision advances are the interests of an addiction for profit industry. And if the president isn't going to use the Food and Drug Administration as the law requires, why doesn't he simply abolish it? They said in the statement. Well, there you go. Some changes have just been announced. Like I said, just moments ago, I actually had to change my lead story because of it. It was going to mention that this was going to happen down the road, and here it is. It has happened, and we'll see what continues further on. I know that on Monday we'll be discussing it again when Cindy gets back. I'm sure there'll be more reports over the weekend. And as far as Sam, which is the Spartan Approaches to Marijuana, I've got another story coming up that they are involved in that isn't a good one either. So, but there you go. Todd Blanche has done some reclassification of the cannabis end of things. And good morning to you, Kent, as well. Thanks for tuning in and watching the program. We should get together later on this afternoon if you're home. Give me a shout. We'll talk to you then. All right. From there, I'm going to move on to my next story. This one is around the psychedelic end of things. And it was a study that was just been released. And on it, it says on the headline, which is coming to me from the University of California in San Diego, it says that the first large-scale survey estimates that 2.8% of the U.S. population used psilocybin in the past year. That's right. The use of psilocybin is rising in the United States alongside decriminalization efforts in several states and local jurisdictions, as well as heightened interest by the general public. Now, researchers have also taken an interest in the medicines for its potential to treat depression. Now, a study by researchers at the University of California, San Diego School of Medicine and New York University Grossman School of Medicine has found that around 2.8% of U.S. residents over the age of 12. I was surprised when I read that, 12. But they say about 8 million people have used psilocybin in the past year. Now, the team analyzed data from the 2024 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, and they said this was the first year that the large-scale nationally representative survey asked psilocybin-specific questions, enabling the researchers to gain a more accurate picture of past year use among the 56,000 respondents. Now, previous national surveys have grouped psilocybin with other hallucinogens and have focused on lifetime use rather than its use during the past 12 months. Now, prior surveys only captured lifetime use, which tell us little about current use patterns. Someone who tried psilocybin once in college a decade ago and someone using it regularly today look identical in that data. Now, past year gives us a much more clinically relevant picture of who is using psilocybin right now and what factors are associated with their use, says the author Kevin Yang. He's an MD resident physician in the Department of Psychiatry at the San Diego School of Medicine. Now, the researchers found, just got to get a drink here. The researchers found that from 18 to 25 years of age, they had about 1.5% the odds of psilocybin use compared to those 35 to 49, while those over 50 had about 1/3 lower odds. As far as males, they had about a 1 to 7% odd that compared to females and white respondents who had a 2.5 percentage, and black respondents had 1.4% odds, as well as the Hispanics. And they say that the use of cannabis and hallucinogens like LSD, MDMA, and ketamine was strongly associated with past year psilocybin use. And they say that alcohol use disorder and prescription stimulant misuse were also collaborated with the psilocybin use. And individuals with major depression episodes in the last year had higher odds of psilocybin use. And that, I wonder with some of these people, like the alcohol use disorder, the depression, where these people are self-medicating at home, like a lot of people do with the cannabis, especially before it became legalized. And I wonder if that's what's happening there. They go on to say that, you should talk to your doctor about your use of psilocybin when you're talking to them about your, prescriptions or any other medicine that you may have, just so they can deal with interactions. So there you go. 2.8% of the U.S. has talked about, has used psilocybin in the last year. So, all righty, from there on to my third story of the day. And this is going to be bringing Sam back in the picture. That's right. Here we go. This one is coming to me from the Cannabis Business Times. 2 U.S. senators team with Sam on a bill to study cannabis impacts on Medicaid. A pair of U.S. Republican senators collaborated with a cannabis prohibition group to file legislation on April the 20th, that aims to discourage federal reform by showcasing what they say is a strain on healthcare costs. A strain. Okay. Senators Ted Rudd and Pete Ricketts, they introduced the Marijuana Impact on Medicaid Act on Monday, coinciding with the 420 cannabis holiday. The 2-page legislation, supported by anti-legalization group Smart Approaches to Marijuana, also known as SAM, would require the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services to collect data on Medicaid spending associated with hospital inpatient and outpatient care and with emergency room visits related to cannabis use. Rudd, the primary sponsor, says the bill aims to provide transparency. He says the health consequences tied to cannabis use are serious, leading to increased risks for heart attacks, strokes, psychotic disorders, and further addictions, he said in a statement when he was announcing the bill. Now, when legislating on this issue, Congress needs to put the health and safety of the American people first, full stop. This is exactly why lawmakers need access to reliable data that details Medicaid spending associated with with marijuana use and abuse. Millions of Americans rely on Medicaid health care benefits, and my legislation will ensure Congress understands the dangers of this drug and its impact on federally funded health programs. Now, this legislation comes as Sam is attempting to halt the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services CBD pilot program that commenced on April the 1st. The federal program allows doctors to recommend health-derived CBD products containing as much as 3 milligrams of THC per serving to Medicaid patients with up to $500 per year in coverage for those products. Now, Senator Ricketts, he says, marijuana is a dangerous drug. The average THC potency in marijuana has more than tripled since 1995. High potency marijuana is an increasingly concerning threat to public health. It is important to Congress, or for Congress and HHS, to understand the costs and impacts of healthcare of increased marijuana use. The senators, they failed to mention a study published in 2025 by the National Institute of Health. In it, researchers concluded that medical cannabis use was associated with reduced healthcare utilization and improved quality of life among chronic patients. Gee, why wouldn't they mention that? Yeah, exactly. Because they don't want you to know. And they want to stop people from getting access to an alternative choice of medicine that they find that works. That's what it is. So, all right, people, it's time for me to take a quick break. It's going to be about 3 minutes, and then we'll be back. I got 3 more stories to go over. They're going to be including that guide that I mentioned at the beginning, as well as pets and consumption of cannabis. And we're going to touch on the price of cannabis, what's happened over the last year. So, all right. Other than that, you're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Education and News. I'm live here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
That way. I'm having an awesome day, and I'm gonna make sure it stays that way.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
And you're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News right here at paceradio.net. And just to go over our leading story today, earlier on, I announced that CNN has reported that the Justice Department reclassified state licensed medical marijuana as a less dangerous drug. And just to remind you, it does not make cannabis federally legal. All right. It's just on the medical end of things. And it's just on the state end of things as well. All righty. To continue on with the other news of today, next story is up. This is coming to me from the Business of Cannabis. Headline there says the Cannabis Industry Council releases global guide for patients traveling with medical cannabis. The UK's Cannabis Industry Council has published a new comprehensive guide for patients traveling with prescribed medical cannabis in the wake of a series of reported incidents involving both airlines and border control authorities. The guide, Traveling with Medical Cannabis, published today and available free via the CIC's website, covers domestic UK travel, international country-by-country frameworks across Europe, the Americas, Asia, the Middle East, Africa, Australia, and includes practical pre-travel checklists. It was developed by CIC Ambassador Luke Armstrong and Adam Windish, the CEO of British Cannabis and the CIC's Standards and Education Pillar Lead. Now, next month, as part of the Cannabis Europa London 2026, taking place at the Barbican Center on May the 26th, 27th, the CIC will present the full guide to delegates. The publication lands against the backdrop of real-world patient difficulties and draws on 3 documented incidents reported by Cannabis Health. As reported last year, a patient traveling on a jet, a flight from Belfast to Antananarivo in November 2024, had his medication confiscated after voluntarily disclosing it to cabin crew, despite having cleared airport security. Months before the incident, 5 patients on a British Airways London City to Amsterdam service in June of 2024 had their prescriptions removed from handbaggage and luggage and placed in the hold by crew members acting as pilots' concerns. Another incident took place at Heathrow's Airport's Terminal 4 in December of 2023, in which a patient's medication was seized despite pre-travel checks from the Drugs and Firearms Licensing Unit. This seizure was subsequently ruled unlawful, and Border Force was required to return the medication. Now, the incidents underscore a regulatory gap that the CIC frames not as a legislative failure, but as an issue of awareness and standardization. As we've covered extensively in recent months, they say, despite being legal for nearly 8 years, understanding of the legal position varies significantly between police forces, transport operators, and border authorities. The guide's international sections reflect a fragmented global picture of UK patients. Within Europe, the majority of countries permit entry with prescribed cannabis medicines under defined documentation conditions. Though UK patients traveling as non-Schengen residents may face additional requirements compared with EU residents. Now, outside Europe, the picture is considerably more restrictive. Cannabis remains federally illegal in the US, despite today's announcement, and cross-border transport is prohibited in Canada. Right, can't take it across the US border. We can go from province to province, no problem, but not into a different country. That meaning that patients traveling in North America have no lawful route to bring prescribed medication. Exactly. If I was to go over the border right now, I could take my other medications, no problem at all. Even if it's I was on one medication I had to do self injections with. Even the medication I'm on now, the treatments I take now for my Crohn's, it's an injection. So would it even be allowed over the border? Good question. So yeah, we need that access, and this guide is a good idea. I think it's great. It'll be nice. I'm looking forward to it coming out, and when it does, we'll let everybody know. All righty, from there, I'm gonna move on to the next story, and this one is the story about right here in good old Canada, and it's coming to me from Mugglehead magazine. And the headline there says that British Columbia records the highest pet cannabis poisoning rates in Canada. Yes, British Columbia continues to report the highest number of cannabis poisonings among pets in Canada, according to new data from Trupanion. Now, veterinarians and insurers are urging pet owners to use cannabis cautiously at home. Additionally, seasonal spikes in incidents have drawn renewed attention to the issue. That's more than likely why this is in the news today. Now, over the past 6 years, Trupanion has recorded more than 1,800 cannabis-related toxicity claims nationwide. In 2025, British Columbia led with 103 reported cases. Meanwhile, Alberta followed with 52, and Nova Scotia reported 35. Nick Van Zandt, Director of Public Relations for Trupanion, says that the number of cases in British Columbia has risen steadily since 2020. And in addition, most incidents involve dogs exposed inside the home environment. Cats account for a smaller share of reported cases. They say, I know this may look like the numbers of incidents are increasing and decreasing, but we also have to factor in the number of pets currently enrolled, says Van Zandt. He goes on to say, if we do that, the number of incidents increased by 7.6% in British Columbia since 2020 and decreased by 5% in Canada over the same period. Now, in 2020, the province recorded 59 affected animals. However, that number climbed to 103 by 2025, reflecting a notable increase, I guess. Nationally, figures have fluctuated, though overall, trends show some decline outside of BC. Animals may, just so you know, for signs of things to watch for, they say animals may show drooling, vomiting, or unusual changes in breathing and body temperature. Symptoms can appear within minutes or take up to 12 hours after exposure. Now, if exposure is suspected, veterinarians recommend immediate contact with a clinic or animal poison control. And they also mention that early intervention can reduce complications and shorten recovery time. Now, cannabis toxicity in pets often occurs when animals ingest cannabis products, such as edibles, gummies, chocolates, baked goods. The chocolate alone is bad for dogs, for example, so that's not good anyways. Now, additionally, they say that these products often include other harmful ingredients like chocolate. So there you go. Keep an eye on your pets and keep your cannabis away from them. And the dogs don't know. The pets don't know what's going on. They don't realize that they're stoned. They're scared. So if you can, just keep it away from your your pets and let them enjoy life otherwise. Alrighty, last story of the day, and this one is coming to me for StratCan. And on the headline on that one, it says retail cannabis prices still dropping, but unevenly across the country. Now, according to Statistics Canada, Consumer Price Index, retail cannabis prices dropped 3.2% year over year in March, from March 26 compared to March of 2025, and declined 0.3% from February to March. Now, the Consumer Price Index measures the rate of inflation by tracking changes in the cost of fixed basket of goods and services over time as experienced by Canadian consumers. It compares the current cost of items like food, shelter, and transportation against past costs to calculate the change in the cost of living. For cannabis, a baseline price of $100 was established in December of 2018 following legalization. Since then, the index value has mostly declined, with only a few brief, small monthly or bi-monthly increases. While the first few years of legal cannabis saw prices drop by about 8 or 9% a year, prices since December of 23 have decreased at a more moderate rate. The most recent declines in 2026 were not evenly distributed across Canada, and prices vary across the country. They say that retail prices in Atlantic Canada saw the steepest declines. Prices in PEI dropped the most, but they also dropped in Ontario, Manitoba, BC, the Yukon, as well as the Northwest Territories. Meanwhile, in Quebec, they stayed steady, and in Alberta, there was a slight increase in your prices. So there you go. Covered a variety of topics today. And just a reminder to let everybody know, top story of today, as reported by CNN. I'm just going to bring it up here for you. And they say that, there you go, that the Justice Department reclassifies state licensed medical marijuana as a less dangerous drug. I guess the question there is that, is recreational cannabis still considered more dangerous? I don't know. Guess we'll find out over time. But other than that, that's it for today. And we hope you found it informative and educational. Thanks go out to tune in to everybody for tuning in to the broadcast, as well as to our sponsors, Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, the Camelford Lifestyle Shop, as well as at ease.ca. And we'll see you all Monday. Cindy will be back 10 a.m. Eastern. And don't forget, as I always say, educate, medicate, do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Every day, every week, we there. Same time, same seat. Wait for it and white bike. Roll out the mat, press play. Same little chair, same ashtray. Neighbors know it's that showtime. Laughing at the clock as it slides by.
I got the snacks in a brown bag, notebook full of wild plans, big flags. We tune in, tune out, feel straight. Calendar locked for the same day.
Yeah,
we doing it, doing it, doing it. The 420 pace, daily vibes, weekly waves in the same space. From sunrise talk to the late night glow. It's a ritual, you already know.
we doing it, doing it. The 420 pace, every laugh leave a mark we can't erase. Link up, kick back for the show. Same time next week, say yeah, say yo, yo.
Chat about life, chat about love. Little side eye when you call my bluff.
We disagree, then we crack up.
2 cups, 1 couch, 1 love.
You drop gems in your soft tone. I drop jokes and you grab your phone. Clips and bits for the crew to see. Don't post that, but you still click send on me.
We doing it, the 420 pace. Daily vibes, weekly waves in the same space. From sunrise talk to the late night glow. It's a ritual, you already know.
We doing it, the 420 pace. Every laugh leave a mark we can't erase. Link up, kick back for the show. Same time next week, say yeah, say yo. One spark, one joke. Then another from the weekday stress to the weekend cover. If you miss one, you feel that hole. Like a skip step in a tight road road.
So we line up time like tracks in a crate.
If you come in late,
still we'll wait. Cause every day, every week, same place. We're living life on the 420 pace. We're doing it, the 420 pace. Daily vibes, weekly waves in the same space. From sunrise talk to the late night glow. It's a ritual, you already know. We're doing it, the 420 pace. Every laugh leave a mark we can't erase. Link up, kick back for the show. Same time next week, say yeah, say yo.
Daily show, yeah, we there.
Weekly,
same corner.
You're watching the 420 Pace, found at 420pace.ca.
You've been watching Rerolled Saturdays. Thank you to our guests, our hosts, and our viewers. Up next, Rerolled Saturday Nighttime Edition. It gets started at 4 p.m. See you then.